Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian Podcast, episode 50. We are available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian Podcast, along with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. If you guys have any questions you would like to ask us, you can leave them in the YouTube comment section or at the Anchor link for a voice message. Today, we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman 1984, Nintendo versus Melee, and PlayStation 5 scalping. Then we'll get into our recent activities, including our spoiler discussion on Miles Morales' PlayStation 5 and The Mandalorian. Lastly, our thoughts and predictions on this year's Game Awards. So first, Super Mario 3D All-Stars had a very small update that pertained to GameCube support for Sunshine and inverted controls for all three titles. So yeah, it's very nice that Nintendo decided to sort of update this game and give people the option to play with the GameCube support, because I thought that was kind of weird when the game launched that there was no GameCube support whatsoever. So I'm pretty sure the GameCube controller is pretty important for Sunshine.
Yeah, because with Flood, since the triggers on the GameCube are like analog, I think. So, when you press it down, it like determines how much pressure Flood shoots at. I think it works the same way. I haven't like tested this or anything, but I believe it should work like that. I mean, I think it's cool because I know people are very sticklers for the GameCube support in any game that's like was a GameCube game. Even though I'm pretty used to using a Pro Controller at this point. When I play Smash now, I barely use the GameCube controller just because it's too much of a hassle to. Let me get my GameCube adapter. Let me get my GameCube controller. I'll just play with a Pro controller because it's fine. I think it's cool that it has the option because I know there's a lot of diehard Sunshine like players and speedrunners that would love this option. Same thing with the inverted controls, since that's probably muscle memory to them at this point. So yeah, it's a cool update, and it's cool that Nintendo even like added this to begin with.
Yeah, definitely a little weird that it wasn't in there to begin with, but it is nice that they, with the power of, the year 2020, you're able to update games on the fly. So very nice for them to add that.
Yeah, it's still new to Nintendo, All right, so Wonder Woman 1984 is going to be releasing on Christmas Day and on HBO Max. And unlike Disney, it's going to be for no additional cost for HBO Max users, which is really big. Since a lot of people criticize Disney for Mulan, right? Like Mulan, It was on. You had to have Disney Plus, but you also had to pay like $25 or $30. I forgot how much it was.
Yeah.
But you had to pay an additional fee on top of it to watch the movie. So yeah, people didn't like that because you're just paying. Like Disney Plus was just like a privilege to watch it. Then you got to pay an extra fee on top of it to actually watch it. So I think HBO over here, or I guess Warner Brothers, whoever, DC, is doing the right thing here with letting Wonder Woman, be on HBO Max so people can actually watch it as long as they have it. And it's probably because HBO Max isn't as big as Disney Plus, so they probably need the extra like traffic to the streaming service. So it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. When I saw this news, the fact that they were pretty adamant about, it's going to release this year, but it's also going to be on HBO Max, and it's not going to be any additional cost, like that was pretty big for me. I was like, that is huge. Like that is kind of insane. Just because this is probably going to be the biggest new movie being released digitally and in theaters at the same time. Because I know Tenet, like that came out in theaters, but obviously not everyone's very comfortable, and like not every single state is allowing theaters to open up. And even then, like I believe in New York State now, like I can go to the movie theaters, but I'm still not comfortable going there just because of everything that's been going on. So the fact that now it's like, it's going to be released in theaters and on HBO Max on the same day, no additional cost for HBO Max users. That is great because I need a reason to subscribe to HBO Max other than, their large library of other content that they have on there. So this is very, very cool. I wonder on how much this is going to affect the movie in terms of financially, because I know that was probably the main fear Disney had when they released it on Disney Plus, even with that additional cost. And Mulan did suck, so yeah, that movie was not that good. Everyone who watched it said that it was pretty bad, so I'm pretty sure Wonder Woman 1984 isn't going to see that same fate. I feel like that this movie's gonna do pretty good in terms of like being an actual movie, just from what we've seen so far. But yeah, no additional cost is like the biggest thing for me. So yeah, I cannot wait to actually see this movie in the comfort of my own home, stream it instantly via HBO Max when I do sign up for it on the 25th, along with everyone else. So hopefully the servers don't crash. That's my biggest
Oh,
thing.
right. Yeah, actually, that's actually a real concern there. I didn't even think about that. Hopefully they're ready for the huge influx of people, because it's always bad when you release a product and like first day it's like MMOs always do this where it first launches and then just crashes immediately because so many people want to go into it,
Hmm.
and then it's just like people get a bad taste in their mouth. So yeah, hopefully they account for the huge influx of people, because right now not too many people using HBO Max. I actually have it because I think I get it for free with Spectrum, which is like an internet service provider here
Hmm.
in Florida. So yeah, but and I mean it's good for what it is. I mean I can watch the new Adventure Time stuff. That's cool.
Yep.
But besides that, it's not great.
Yeah.
So
Like it definitely has like a lot of content, but it doesn't have like new content that's sort of bringing people in, so to speak.
yeah,
So, but this one, Wonder Woman 1984, 100% will bring probably double the amount of people that they have right now into the service. So, pretty
yeah.
exciting. All right. So, next big news sort of took the gaming community by storm is the fact that Nintendo shut down the Big House online event. So the Big House, if you guys don't know what that is, it is a major for Super Smash Brothers that happens pretty much every single year. But because of COVID, obviously they are hosting it online, and they recently received a cease and desist from Nintendo of America from hosting the event because they are using a program called Slippy, which is pretty much a sort of like mod or like add-on for Dolphin to make playing Melee online like the best that it can be. Pretty much like trying to emulate what it would be like to play locally but online. So and the features that Slippy has is like rollback netcode, matchmaking, complex gameplay stats, improved streaming video quality, and more. So like the people who made Slippy obviously made it with the intent to make sure that they were able to preserve Smash Brothers Melee in the best way that they could for online play, because like input lag and like pretty much like any sort of like delay for Melee is kind of big, just because of how fast and how many inputs you need to make when playing Melee. Obviously, as like a casual viewer, I can't exactly say this, from personal experience, but just like knowing on how the game works, like Slippy is obviously like a third party add-on, and like Nintendo did not approve of this, so they pretty much just shut down the whole event. And they are unfortunately having to refund people and sort of cancel the event. And this sparked the whole sort of Twitter thing with like save Melee, save Smash, because obviously like there's a fucking pandemic going on, and Nintendo shut down this event just because they could, which was a little sort of out of nowhere. When I first heard about this, I wasn't necessarily surprised. I was still disappointed and very, mad at Nintendo that they would still do this kind of bullshit in 2020, especially with how this year has gone on. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Damian?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely like sucks, and it would make sense to use Slippy, like this new application, just because again with everything with COVID, like online tournaments, that's how you're supposed to do all like tournaments in general now, since
Hmm.
no one can really be close to each other. And having Slippy here, because I heard really good things about it, like it makes playing online like super flawless for Melee anyway.
Hmm.
And I get again, it's always this weird thing. I was actually talking to my brother about this. Like, yeah, Nintendo's legally right to do all this stuff, but it doesn't make them like right. Like
Hmm.
they're still assholes for like doing it. Like if you look at Sega, like Sega just lets anything go. Like, hey, you can do like anything with IA. I mean, we have the Sonic hacking contest. Like people just could do whatever they want with Sonic, and that's cool because you see the fans really care about that character. And it sucks that Nintendo has to be so protective over the IP. Again, they're in the right to do so, but it's still like, come on. Like, they're obviously showing some support for Nintendo because it's still playing Melee. Like, people really like Melee. So
Hmm.
I really don't understand what's the harm in this. Again, I know Slippy's like a third party thing, so it kind of makes it more complicated since. I don't know. I guess with emulation, it's just like, okay, you're just emulating it. Even though Nintendo hates that too. I feel like they were like okay with Dolphin, so I was like, all right. But with Slippy, I guess like maybe they go too much into the code and they don't like that. I mean, I don't really know. Like I don't know, man. Like it just sucks that we can't have like these tournaments or any tournament for Smash in general just because the online sucks. And it's not like it's any better for Ultimate because Ultimate's online also sucks.
Yep.
So it's just like such a bad. I mean, on top of the other things that happened this year with the Smash community, just they haven't been getting a break this year.
Yeah.
and it's just very unfortunate to see because I think this would have been really cool. Again, I heard so many good things about Slippy and it finally being able to use in like a big tournament like Big House. Would have been a good, would have been a cool debut there, but I guess not because Nintendo hates fun. So yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
again,
No, go on.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I get the people like trying to defend Nintendo, but I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't feel right. Like, again, I get that they're legally right, but I just feel like you're going against like everyone just by doing this. Like just let them have fun. I don't really understand what the issue here is.
Yeah, it's like, you know, people who are playing Melee, they obviously love the game. Like anyone who gets into Melee and is still playing Melee to this day obviously loves the game because playing the game at a competitive level requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, because that shit is not easy. Like watching people play that game and even trying to like amateurly sort of like emulate that shit myself in my home on my GameCube playing Melee, I was like, man, fucking doing like wave dashing and all this other shit. Like this is kind of crazy. Like this, like it obviously isn't as intensive as playing like actual sports, obviously. But like when it comes to playing a fighting game, for me personally, like this has to be like pretty like intensive because when I play Ultimate, it's not as me like trying to wave dash and do all of these like L canceling all this like sort of like crazy movement. But yeah, definitely a blowback for the Melee community once again. But also just like the Melee community always is like very, very much like they're keeping their heads sort of high. They're trying to make sure that they are trying to get through this once again, just because Nintendo's being just a bunch of assholes pretty much. Like when it comes to any other sort of company, like you said with Sega, when it comes to Sonic, like they don't do anything with Sonic. They're like, oh, okay, you're making like this fan game, sure, whatever, go for it. Nintendo, they're very like protective of their properties, which like they are legally in the right to do. But when it's something that is like so harmless and only can benefit the player base and the people who consume your content, it's a little weird for them to sort of attack that, So, but that's where I'm gonna end it. But what else you gotta say?
And just like one last thing on this, it doesn't even make sense because you can't even like buy Melee, and like I would get if they were so harsh on like all this Melee stuff, if you could buy Melee in like an eShop, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've never been able to do that. Like Nintendo really gains nothing by doing this. Like it's like an old ass game, and they don't resell it anywhere. So I really don't understand what's even the harm in doing any of this. Like they're not really hurting the IP in any way. Like like people are still gonna buy Smash Ultimate. So I really don't understand why they're always so like violent towards the Melee community. Like again, maybe if you could have bought Melee on the Switch and it had online, okay, I could see that. But this just seems always so petty to me. But yeah, Nintendo. I love Nintendo, but it's also hard to love Nintendo sometimes when they do so many bad things like this,
They definitely shoot themselves in the foot a lot for like no apparent reason, but
yeah.
We'll move on.
All right. So, Deadpool 3 is in the works at Marvel Studios. Ryan Reynolds is still supposed to be playing Deadpool. It's expected to be rated R, which I know was a big concern there, since a lot of people thought maybe they would dumb down the age rating because Disney and Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna have a new director. What's his name? Faded. It's like
my
David
bad.
with an F.
My bad. David Finch or
Okay.
David Lynch. My bad. All right, guys. So, we got like a Google Docs going on here, and sometimes I be typing in sometimes. Yeah, it's David Lynch.
Okay, I was gonna say like doesn't with an F.
Yeah. Whoops.
Right. Got some comedy in here.
Yep.
Well, he was the Deadpool 2 director, and he had a full schedule for 2021. And Molyneux sisters, is that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are set to write Deadpool 3.
Yeah, and they were the writers and executive producers for Bob's Burger. So, and that's supposedly a funny show. I'm not entirely sure.
I heard it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I recently just subscribed to Hulu because the Black Friday deal was like $24 for a whole year, and I was like,
but don't you? I know for me, I know this is really off topic, but I know for Spotify, don't you get like free Hulu stuff if you're a college student, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm not in college yet, so.
Not yet.
But anyways, yeah, Spotify definitely has like a lot of benefits for college students, which is very nice, which is cool. But hey, $24 for a full year, I'll pay it, whatever.
That's also pretty good.
Yeah, that's like $2 every month or whatever, so. That's real good. But anyways, Deadpool 3. So, oh wait, another typo. I wrote Deadpool or 3 or whatever. But yeah, it's being in the works at Marvel Studios is great. I think Ryan Reynolds very much cares about this character and very much cares about his version that he created with Fox. And now that he's working closely with Marvel to make this a rated R film is going to be very cool to see when it actually, when it actually all comes together. And I think them doing that sort of like Christmas, like Deadpool spinoff movie where it was like PG-13 was obviously them trying to experiment with that, sort of just like recutting Deadpool 2 into a PG-13 movie, but also adding in some new scenes as like Deadpool is telling the story of Deadpool 2 to, I forget who the actor was in that movie, but yeah, that was definitely a experiment there. And personally, that sort of like version of Deadpool 2, like that movie in general, I thought was okay, but definitely lost some of its like charm and flair because if it was PG-13, less blood, less gore, less swearing. So yeah, the fact that it is going to be rated R is going to be very nice, sort of sticking to what Ryan Reynolds wants for this character. A new director, I'm not exactly sure. I know that Donald Glover, this was like a long time ago. He was tasked to make a Marvel animated series of Deadpool for FX, and that fell through. So then he just posted like the script of like the final episode that he had. And from my understanding, like it wasn't that bad from what I can remember. Obviously, I haven't like looked back at like that script that he tweeted a long time ago, and like he deletes his tweets, but then again, it's the internet, so it's probably somewhere on the internet posted. But him directing Deadpool 3 wouldn't be that bad. I think that would be a pretty cool sort of like collaborative effort. But whoever they get, I'm pretty sure that this project, whatever Ryan Reynolds wants, he's probably gonna get. So yeah, it's gonna be very cool to see on how all this comes together with Marvel. Or Marvel Studios, I should say, now working together with them.
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool how much power Ryan Reynolds has over this franchise. Like, he usually gets what he wants because he cares so much about this this character. I mean, he basically got the movie out of the ground, the first one. So, it's cool that when an actor really cares about the character they play as, because when you see them act, they really care about being that character. It's always sad when we see an actor like sort of resent like their character. I think what's his face from Star Wars? I know. I think Mark Hamill hates Luke also. Like, I don't know, it's just weird when some actors just hate their character after a certain point. So yeah, again, it's just nice to see him care so much. And again, it's nice to see them going the same direction as Deadpool 1 and 2, since I really enjoyed those movies, and I think I liked 1 a little more than 2, but they were still both very good movies, very funny, and I hope they keep up that same energy. Because again, I know a lot of people were kind of worried about when it got out of Fox. I know it's like the one thing people were worried about, like it coming out of Fox, because Deadpool is very specific. It's not like all the other heroes, or I guess quote unquote hero. So yeah, it's gonna be cool to see Deadpool 3, and I hope it's good. That is basically all I can hope for.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for at this point. But I'm sure it's gonna be great because now that they're directly tied in with the MCU, they're probably gonna make a bunch of jokes about that. So cannot wait to see what they're gonna come up there. All right, so last piece of news is that there's a UK scalper group that has no regrets. They have been reselling apparently over 3,500 PlayStation 5 consoles. So when I saw this news on Twitter, I was like, what the fuck? That is kind of crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is like a pretty decent amount of the systems that have been sold to the public, I guess. Supposedly, this might be half of half of what is out right now or some shit. I don't even know. But anyways, 3,500 PS5 consoles, that's a lot, no matter how you twist it. But, these people sort of just like, as a group of 12 or whatever, sort of just like making sure that they're buying up PS5 consoles from whichever retailer that they're able to get it from and just reselling them for however much that they see fit. Last time I checked on eBay, these things are going for 1,000, maybe even more at this point, just because, it's the holiday season and people really want these for their kids, their grandkids, whoever it may be. And, money to them is like, fuck it, whatever, I'll spend it if they really, really, really want this PlayStation 5. But yeah, like stories like this just make me very, very thankful that I have a goddamn PlayStation 5.
Same.
So I don't have to go through this whole hassle. And like I said on the last episode, I did get a second PS5, but I did not flip it for profit. I straight up sold it to my neighbor slash friend that I've known for many years and just sold it to him for what I paid for. So he didn't have to go through that hassle of paying $800, $900, $1,000 for the system. So, but yeah, definitely scalper groups and like scalping in general. So, actually, I'll let Damien go first before I go on my tangent about scalping. But what do you think about this in general?
Basically, they're worse than Hitler.
Oh shit!
No, but seriously, they suck. Because it's just like, especially during COVID time, where they already knew that these, they're not making as many consoles as they would if, they had like full factories of people making these things. So them buying so many of these consoles and reselling them, obviously can make a higher profit because there's not as many of them. So obviously it makes sense to them. But still, I'm like, have a heart. Like, come on. Like, people obviously want these systems. And it's just, and you always see this. Like, scalpers always suck regardless. But again, with COVID, the supply is so limited that it's just way harder to get one. And I know people really didn't like how the PS5 was first sold on the market, like where they just didn't tell anyone, and it's just kind of all the retail sites were like, oh, it's up, you could pre-order it now.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that was for the best because I was able to get one with not too many issues, just because I guess like no one knew where to put their bots first. With the Xbox, that sold out so fast because they had a date and time, and all the websites already had like their pre-order links. Like, oh, you just gotta wait until like 11 o'clock or whatever. So like that, I felt like that was sold out like instantly because I was trying to look because my brother wanted one and I was home, he was at work. I was trying to get one for him. It was like impossible. He was able to get one through Amazon luckily, but it was way harder to do when they set a time like when it's gonna happen. So I honestly thought Sony handled it the best, even though it was still shit where they just like, okay, we're just gonna like put it out there without anyone really knowing. But I felt like it was for the best for some people to get it since the scalpers can like have all their bots out. But basically scalpers suck. Where's your tangent here?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about the whole like, in concept, it is a good thing to like put a date and time for like people to, get ready at their computers or their phones and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have my credit card ready and everything. Oh shit, a bot got it before me, which is why like when you see certain like websites, for example, like recently Hypeland, they did like their Black Friday sale at midnight. They closed the store entirely, so you can't look at any of the products that they potentially could have restocked or whatever, and then they just open the site at midnight. So when you refreshed it at midnight, you could go to the site, pick whatever you want as quickly as you can, and then order it or whatever. So people can't like set up the bots. Obviously, like the web links are still the same from what it was before they closed the site. But like, just like having like a date and time and stuff like that, like it could be a little, wary for scalpers to just, easily get that stuff. Me personally, I do have some experience with scalping. All right, don't kill me now. But it wasn't for anything like this. I've never went to a goddamn like retail store and bought like all of the supply of like a item or whatever. Like the most that I would do is like buy something, like buy one and then just resell it, or like buy two, keep one for myself and then sell the other one. And even then, like I hate reselling just because like it's such like a risk when it comes to certain items that I was like reselling at the time, like pop figures or like other figurines or whatever the case was. So I don't even do that stuff anymore. Or like I try not to. Like recently I just bought like a like Mighty plush that I might give to you, Damien, depending if I could sell it for higher or not. I probably will just give it to you, honestly. But I was like, hey, look, I know that this Mighty plush from like the set is like not as, sort of like around as like Sonic and Tails or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, let me buy it and then see what I can find it for online. Turns out that it is actually like kind of like readily available on eBay. So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But yeah, I definitely tried to not scalp like at all. But this like group of people just like, going in like, I guess like a circle and just like, all right guys, so there's 12 of us, so let's get as many PS5s as we can and just sell it for a profit. And like their like logic behind it is like, like, oh, a kid might not get it, but another kid might also get it. Or let me actually read the quote here. It may be unfortunate that a child won't get a PS5 this Christmas, but another child may have woken up to nothing. We have no regrets. So like,
it doesn't even mean anything. Like, it's just like it would have been the same thing if you didn't buy all of them. I don't know what it's trying to do.
Literally, like they're sort of just like looking at it as like, oh, like if someone is gonna resell it, it might as well be me, which is kind of just like dumb logic to look at it. It's like just don't do it in general. But like someone's going to do it just because like that's just how the world works. Fucking capitalism, and people are greedy and people just want that money. But yeah, scalping obviously like is never a good thing, especially scalping in large quantities like this. So just because I said that I have experience with scalping doesn't mean I'm defending these people whatsoever. Yeah, it definitely sucks that this many sort of like PS5 consoles just ended up in the hands of this sort of UK group. So
yeah, and at least with Sony and Microsoft, they already made statements like, "Oh, we're gonna make more. Don't worry." I mean, it's gonna take a while, but yeah, don't worry about that. I'm very nervous when the like Switch 2, Switch Pro comes out, because that shit feels like it's gonna be impossible. Because Nintendo's always like, "Oh, we made the first batch. See you in like next year when we made more." I'm like, all right. Like, I feel like the only reason I was able to get a Switch so easily was because no one cared. Like, the Wii U was such a bomb that I feel like not too many people cared that much about the Switch when it first came out. So I was able to just walk into. I mean, I pre-ordered it, but I was still able to just walk into GameStop and like, give me my Switch, and then I got it. So
yeah,
like, I feel like it wasn't that big of an effort. I feel like whatever the next Nintendo console is gonna be a massive pain in the ass. So. Again, that just goes back to Nintendo kind of being done with like everything. So.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah,
it was definitely the same situation with the Wii U, but that was also like my fault because I was like a much younger kid and I didn't know how like console releases worked. So yeah, my dad had to like go to like a Walmart that was like not that far away for like my standards these days, but it was kind of far, and he had to pre-order it there. But yeah. And the only reason the Wii U was hard to find was because of the success of the Wii.
Of the Wii, yeah.
And then the Wii U bombed, and then it was like, oh, now you can find the Wii U everywhere. But then again, I remember that same year, like we walked into a Best Buy, and there was just a shit ton of just Wii U sitting there. So I was like, oh, okay, it looks like, a non-COVID world, Nintendo can, like supply with enough consoles. But right. Like you said, with the whole, like possible Switch to whatever the case is, that's probably going to be hard to find depending on how Nintendo handles that release. And yeah, it probably will be a very hot item because right now for the holidays, when I go to retail stores, all I see is the Switch Lite. The regular Switches are completely sold out. It is very hard to get a regular Switch because people want that sort of extra ability to, click in the controllers and have that.
The whole point of
Switch. Pretty much just like have that option available for them, which makes sense because, oh, look, I'm saving $100. But then again, I can't play a bunch of these games over here. And I'm also limiting myself to how I can play the Switch, period. So yeah, it definitely is going to be very scary for the future of console releases just because of how this like one group of just 12 people, by the way, was able to just get this many consoles. So
yeah, it's really annoying, and I wish people would stop doing it, but people will always do this. I mean, people did it with toilet paper, so
people did it with toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and nowadays toilet paper and paper products are still somewhat hard to come by, but hand sanitizer is readily available by pretty much every single big brand hand sanitizer company. So
yeah, it's been a really annoying console launch.
Yeah, definitely 2020 has been a very, very strange year. So we'll move on from that. We'll get into our recent activities. I will let Damien go first, and then we'll talk about Miles Morales and Mandalorian. So
yeah, all right. So I guess, I mean, if you want, we could do like just PS5 general impressions before I go into like Astro and like Sackboy.
Yeah.
I mean, all I really want to say about it is it's really good. I mean, it's not much. It's not like a Nintendo console where there's like a lot of new things about it. It's just a more powerful PS4, which is great because the PS4 was very underpowered at this point.
Yeah.
It could run things perfectly at 60, as I'll talk about in the games I'll talk about. I never noticed any drops. It runs perfectly. If you want to play in performance mode or ray tracing, you could do that. I just prefer frame rate. I like the UI. I actually really like the card system. That this was something I didn't think. I thought it might have been a little gimmicky, like I wouldn't use it that much. But for Astro's Playroom, there's a lot of collectibles. I'm like, oh, where was that thing? If you just press the PS button, and the little card showed up for that level, you could click on it, and it shows you like where that collectible is. I know some people won't like that because that ruins like trying to find it yourself. I'm like, whatever. I was gonna look up a guide anyway if I couldn't find it, so it's just easier to have it like right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird that it's a PS Plus only thing. I guess it gives more value for PS Plus, but whatever. I guess it's more incentive to actually get PS Plus. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just thought that was a really cool feature. Again, I think the UI is very clean. Um, it's kind of weird, like the PlayStation Shop is just in the UI now. Like it's not like its own
Yeah.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little weird. But besides that, yeah, it's a really solid console. It doesn't make like any noise at all. It's very quiet. Um, the controller is fantastic, and I guess I'll go more into that in Astro's Playroom. Yeah, the DualSense is probably my favorite DualShock controller, Sony controller that they
Mm-hmm.
ever made. So I really wasn't a big fan of the DualShock 4, honestly. Like, it just felt awkward to me. Um, and I guess that was maybe I was just getting too used to the Xbox One controller, and because I was using those controllers more than DualShocks at that point. Since when I was younger, I played a bunch on the DualShock 2 and 3, or I guess this six axis. But
Mm-hmm.
when the DualShock 4 came out, I was just too used to how an Xbox controller was laid out, or the Pro controller, which are basically like the same thing. So when I went back to DualShock 4, it just felt weird. The DualSense feels exactly like those controllers, except the analog sticks are down like the normal Sony stuff. And yeah, I just think it's a very comfortable controller. I really like it a lot. I'll go more into the features when I talk about Astro's Playroom. But I don't know. What are your general thoughts on the PS5? Just before I talk about my stuff.
Yeah. The PS5 so far, I've been liking it. It plays the games that I want to play. I've actually been using it to watch Mandalorian, and it
Oh,
it runs really really nice. Because I have a 4K TV, so I might as well take advantage of it and watch Mandalorian in 4K. Looks great. The entire like menu, like you said with the UI, I agree that the UI is very very nice and very clean. They separate the menu with like games and media, so being able to just switch to media and then go to Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever sort of streaming service that I want to use on that particular day, very very easy to do. I also have the PlayStation Media controller, so I don't have to use my PlayStation 5 controller to sort of navigate the menus. I could just use the sort of like TV remote, I guess.
yeah.
And that has been working very, very well. The system itself, I don't hear it at all. I know that the back of it, so when I was recording Spider-Man, my last session of it, which was like probably my longest one, when I was taking out the HDMI cables to like swap it out for my normal ones, it was pretty hot back there. So, but then again, it didn't make any noise, but it does get, I guess, fairly hot back there,
Right.
depending on how long you're playing the console. I did run into one little error, which was a little weird. I guess like my external hard drive like disconnected improperly, so like it had to like repair it and everything. Which like that was a whole thing on like one of my streams when I was trying to stream like Infamous Second Son or whatever. Like my PS4 just like disconnected the hard drive or something like that. But that happened, and then like my file or like my like digital copy of Spider-Man Remastered, I had to like delete it and re-download it because every single time I would start it up, it would say error, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Oof.
So yeah, definitely something that I hate. Something that I hate about digital games is that sometimes they just break randomly on me. I'm just like, well, shit. I guess I just got to download it and or delete it and re-download it. So, but yeah, overall, I'm very happy with the console, despite it being a fucking beast. It's a
Yeah.
goddamn massive thing. It
It's really
literally,
big.
yeah, it literally takes up one side of my entertainment center, and that's all that's there because it's that big. And I have it on its side. I know that
Yeah.
some people have it faced up, but personally, I'm not risking that shit. I know that you can like, or you're supposed to screw it down when you have it faced up, but I know me. Someone's gonna come over my house sometime next year or the year after. Someone's gonna knock that shit down, and then it's over. And then I'm like, well, bro, you gotta buy me a whole new PS5. So I'm just gonna have that shit face down and just have the stand below it. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with the PS5. The controller, like you said, very nice. Probably, like you said, favorite PS5 or PlayStation controller in general thus far. And the battery life is not like the PS4 where it was dog shit. The battery life on this one is actually pretty good. So,
Yeah. I actually think I might have a defective DualSense because
oh
my
shit.
battery runs out very fast. My brother's one is fine, like it's normal. He doesn't have to charge it that often. For me, I just leave it plugged in. I know. I think they were saying you can return your DualSense and like get a new one, but I'm like whatever. I'll just I'll buy a new one at some point. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really close to my. Well, I'm not that close to my TV, but it's good enough for the wire to reach. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not that big of an issue. But yeah, that seems to be kind of an issue with my PS5. But besides that, everything else is fine. I had a few crashes, but nothing too major, thankfully. So
Yeah. Just
all right.
wait for them to like release a new color or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably wait until they do like some weird controller because they always do that. Like I'll hear some custom controller or whatever. So. All right, time to actually talk about the video game. So, Astro's Playroom was a pack-in title with the PS5. Every PS5 had it downloaded,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically just a fun like 3D platformer that really takes advantage of the DualSense, and you really get a feel for the haptic feedback and like I guess 3D rumble. It feels like 3D rumble. They never said that was a feature of the DualSense, but it basically feels like the same thing where you can feel like Astro's like little footsteps on like any material, you could feel it in the controller itself, and it's really neat. The haptic feedback triggers feel great for some of the different weapons you could use. So there was like a Gatling gun or whatever, and if you hold down the right trigger, you could feel like it's really hard to describe, but you basically feel like every shot of that gun, you could feel it with the DualSense, and it feels really good. Like it's really hard to describe. Also with the bow and arrow, this is probably a classic example. With the bow and arrow, it has a lot of resistance when you're holding down the right trigger until you let it go and as a like snaps back. So like I don't know, it just seems like really cool applications for other games. I could see Ratchet and Clank using this very well because each gun is like super unique, and then you can make that gun even more unique with like different like triggers and like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, like how it feels with the triggers. I think it's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah,
super
yeah.
neat with Ratchet. Also Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or I guess Horizon 2, is gonna be really cool with like whatever bow mechanic they put for the haptic triggers. It's just really exciting technology, and I hope they use it because I feel like Nintendo like just didn't use 3D Rumble like at all. Like it was really cool in 1-2 Switch when you feel like the ice cubes or whatever. I'm like yeah, that's pretty neat. And then you like never felt it again. I'm like oh that's sad. I feel like they could have done some cool puzzle stuff with like Zelda, or maybe they might do it with Breath of the Wild too, or like with Odyssey. But they didn't really use it that much. But yeah, besides that, it's just a really fun 3D platformer. You just go through different levels. Each level has like a different like animal suit, or I guess just suit in general, where it takes full advantage of the haptic feedback for like for when you're like in a rocket ship and you have to hold down the triggers and to have a bunch of pressure on them and then you just go flying. It's great. Again, it's a really hard game to describe since it's more like an experience. Like you have to like kind of like play the game yourself to really get the feel of what it's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's a pretty basic platformer at the end of the day, but it does a good job highlighting all the neat stuff about the PS5, including the fast load times and all that. Since the game is supposed to be like you're playing in the PS5, so you go through like the CPU fan, and you go through the SSD, or you go through the memory. So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat, and all the collectibles are just like all nods to Sony's history. So you got the PS1 collectibles, which shows like a bunch of accessories and PS1 stuff. Same thing with the PS2. Like PS2 hit me hard with nostalgia because grew up with that.
Yep.
PS3 and 4. It was just all really neat, and it felt like a nice love letter to just Sony stuff in general. And there's really no excuse to play it since it comes bundled in with the PS5, and it's
Whoops.
really short. Yeah, it's really short. It's only like it took me 4 hours to like do everything, and like I got the platinum because it really isn't that hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think it's well worth the playthrough since again it highlights all the PS5 features and it just feels like a good tutorial of like how the PS5 would use this technology in other games. So yeah, I thought it was really neat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sackboy: A Big Adventure was the next game I got besides Miles. I got Miles and Sackboy. And Sackboy is really good. I didn't know what to expect from this since I wasn't really a big fan of Little Big Planet 3, which was also made by Sumo Digital. I just felt like they kind of lost the charm Media Molecule had in Little Big Planet 1 and 2 since I was a big fan of Little Big Planet 1 and 2. I played, especially Little Big Planet 2, I played so many hours Little Big Planet 2. I loved it. So
Mhm.
when Little Big Planet 3 came out, I just felt like they just didn't get it, like what made it special. Like Mio Mariko just had that spark in them, but I don't know what they were missing. So I'm happy they just decided like they're just gonna do something completely different and just make a 3D platformer. And this game is basically Mario 3D World, but with Sackboy, and that's good. That's honestly a good thing. I actually
Mhm.
really like 3D World's like sort of approach to 3D platforming, where it's basically structured like a 2D platformer, but it's in 3D, so you could do a lot more creative stuff with the level design. And I just like that. I honestly think I like this structure more than collectathon platformers, where it's just like a big open map and you just find stuff. So I don't really have nostalgia for those type of platformers. I have more nostalgia for like sort of mission-based platformers or story progression platformers like Ratchet and Jack. I'm just used to that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So but these like level like I guess even Crash 4 fits this description was like level-based 3D platforming, and I just like it a lot since you could like each level feels super unique. Like each world in this game has like a music based level. So if you knew like Rayman Legends, it also did this where you just go through a level and like plays music while you go through the level. And this game does it too, and it does it really well. Except in this game, it's just straight up like just Bruno Mars. I'm like, oh okay. There was one that was just like Britney Spears. I'm like, all
Oh
right,
my
I get.
god.
Yeah, this game's like DMC. The game, like you will get nuked to the sky if you play this on Twitch.
Yep.
But yeah, but each level has like so many unique things to it. The aesthetic is super nice, all like arts and crafts. As I felt like Little Big Planet kind of lost its art, but it didn't lose its art direction. It's just when you give the game to the hands of like other people, they're gonna make into their own thing.
Mhm.
So it's nice to see the whole game built around its actual aesthetic of being like arts and crafts. So I thought that was really neat. In terms of Sackboy's controls, I think he controls great. I do feel he's a little slow though. You have like a roll button, so you could keep rolling on the ground, which is nice. But I would prefer to just have like a run button like Mario, since I feel like he is a bit slow. I know the levels are mostly designed for 4 people in mind. You can play most of the game solo. There's some co-op levels I haven't done because you need like 2 people. Um, but the levels are spacious enough to really make sure like each player isn't like running over each other, which is I guess is appreciated. I wouldn't know since honestly one of the bad things about this game is it didn't launch with online play. It's supposed to have online multiplayer so I can actually do those levels at some point, but it doesn't at launch, which is really weird. But yeah, it's supposed to get an online patch at some point, which I hope to do it soon since I do want to do those co-op levels since it's bothering me like I have every word 100% but those levels and it's annoying. But yeah, honestly, don't sleep on this game. I think it's a really solid 3D platformer, and I feel it's getting a little sweep under the rug over Miles and Dark Souls. So yeah, I'll say give it a shot if you like 3D platformers. I definitely think it's worth. I think it's worth the price. I think I'm not even done with it yet, but I'm almost done. I'm up to the last world, and I have like 11 hours so far. So I think it might take me like I'm gonna say like 15 hours to beat the whole game. I think, and I think that's good enough. I know you might want to wait for a sale, but for me, I love 3D platformers, and I'm happy they're making a comeback. Especially next year with Ratchet and Psychonauts 2, I'm very happy that they seem to be coming back. Like big 3D, I'm sorry, big AAA 3D platformers. I'm just really happy. So yeah, yeah, Sackboy is really good.
I'll
And
keep
next
that in
is not,
mind.
yeah, I'll say it's worth it. Maybe wait for a sale, maybe, but I definitely think it was a lot of fun. So,
All right.
um, so yeah, and this is not PS5 related, but Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So this came out on Friday. Yeah, on Friday. And it's a sequel, I guess, to well, it's a sequel to Hyrule Warriors 1 and a prequel to Breath of the Wild. And if you play Hyrule Warriors, it's basically the same thing where it's like 1 to 100 gameplay where you're just one overpowered guy and you just beat the crap out of hundreds of monsters and you have access to different characters all having their unique move sets. This game uses a lot of Breath of the Wild mechanics, as you would probably expect. So you have the Sheikah Slate and like a bunch of other Breath of the Wild mechanics, like cooking and all that. All the bosses are based off Breath of the Wild enemies like Lionels and Hinoxes and the other Stone Rock guy, as like mini bosses. And I think it does it really well. The game basically is just Breath of the Wild, but as a Dynasty Warriors game, and it's really good. Obviously, with these games, it's hard to talk about because, yeah, what you see is what you get. You beat the shit out of a bunch of monsters and, like, you just go through a story. And I do have to say the story is better than the first Hyrule Warriors, but that's not really saying much since the first Hyrule Warriors was basically, like, some girls, like, really simping on Link and then, like, she wants to, like, kill everyone just be with him. It was weird. But this game, this game is like a prequel to Breath of the Wild, where it's supposed to show the fall of Hyrule during like when Calamity Ganon woke up. But I'm just gonna say right now, it doesn't really do that. It definitely changes a lot of things, and that's not really a spoiler since in the first cutscene you're gonna see this time travel involved, and yeah, it kind of becomes a little fan fiction-y towards the end. I'm not done with it yet, but I'm right up to the point where it gets a little BS. Like I'm like, all right, and it's such a shame too, because I think Xenoblade 2 actually did a really good job with this, where there was also an expansion called Torna, where it goes to what happened 500 years ago before Xenoblade 2 happened, and that game ended like super sad, because yeah, it wasn't really supposed to have a happy ending, because everything gets resolved in Xenoblade 2. I was really hoping this game would have that same sort of like tragic end where everyone's like dying and then Link has to go, he goes to stasis by the end of like Breath of the Wild and then he wakes up and then saves everyone in Breath of the Wild. But, as you can tell, that probably doesn't really happen. And again, not really a spoiler because, they already showed that time travel was a thing. So, yeah, not really a big fan of how the story went there. But besides that, I think it's probably the best Warriors game I've ever played. It's very polished. Everything is like super nice. The UI is great. All the characters are super fun to play as. Usually in these Warriors games, like half of the cast kind of sucks because it's just like, oh, let's just make a meme character. And there are meme characters in this game, but I feel like they're actually fun to play as. Unlike in the Tingle sucked in the original. Why would I play as Tingle? But yeah, and the music, oh my god, the music is fantastic. Breath of the Wild had no music because it's going for like this atmospheric stuff, and I don't really like that. This game is like if Breath of the Wild actually had a soundtrack, and it's so good. I love it. But yeah, I would say definitely get it if you were a fan of Hyrule Warriors. But again, Dynasty Warriors gameplay is very, very divisive. Like either you love it or you hate it. So I'd say if you're on the fence, try the demo first, because I think the demo actually does give you a lot of gameplay to really see if this is your thing. And one last thing, the performance issues, yeah, that doesn't go away. The game still chugs a lot of the times. It could go like sub 20 frames at points. It gets a little better past the two maps. I feel like Hyrule Field is definitely the worst map for this, since there's so much grass everywhere. But I feel like the later maps definitely like hit like more of a 30 FPS, it hits it more stably, which is nice. But yeah, it's still an issue. I'm not gonna pretend it's not. But yeah, if you're a fan of Hyrule Warriors or any Dynasty Warriors game, I'll say like it's just like a no buy, like I mean like a no brain buy, like just buy it if you really like those type of games. But if you're on the fence, try the demo. It gives you a lot to work with, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So yeah.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. I was definitely going to ask about the performance issues, so glad you
Yeah,
brought it up at the end.
it's definitely still not great. So, yeah.
All right, so my recent activities, besides Miles Morales, I played the remaster of Spider-Man, which you can check out my full review on this YouTube channel. That's about 5 minutes long, so I'm pretty much gonna take less time than that to talk about it. But yeah, it looks great. It looks honestly amazing in terms of what they did for this remaster, sort of touching literally everything up. The world of New York City, the character models. Literally every single like cutscene looks a lot better than the PS4 version. And I played this entire game on performance mode, by the way, which that isn't even the best looking way to play the game. Like fidelity mode by far, just seeing like the ray tracing and all of that other stuff that I've seen on like YouTube videos, like that just looks great. Seeing the reflections on the cars and buildings. But I played this entire game in performance mode with the 60 frames, and even then the game looked awesome. The Peter Parker model. At this point, like if you're still hating on it, you probably haven't played this remastered, because honestly, Ben Jordan, his face as Peter Parker fits with this older version of Peter. I know I originally said in like my Medium article and even on this podcast probably that it was like he looks younger than Miles, and he might be too young, but when you see him in context with like Mary Jane, Miles, and Aunt May, like it is very like it fits, is what I can say. So I'm very happy with this remaster. You played a little bit of it, right, Damien?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. I'm probably gonna do a full New Game Plus playthrough because I ended up transferring my save anyway because I'm like I have all the trophies, so, and I'm still missing the trophy to do the Ultimate Plus New Game Plus, so I was just like, all right, I'll do that. So yeah, I ended up playing a little bit of it, and yeah, basically it runs amazingly.
yeah.
Just like Miles, which we'll talk about soon. It has the same performance slash what was the other one? Fidelity
Fidelity.
mode.
Yep.
And yeah, fidelity mode looks like amazing. I just wish the PS5 was capable of doing both, but sadly it
Yeah.
can't. So I ended up just sticking with performance. And yeah, it just feels super smooth. Like I can never see myself going back to the PS4 version like at all. And yeah, same thing with Peter's face. You know, you get used to it. Like I've never been that opposed to it. I get some people say it looks too much like Tom Holland or whatever, or like it's too young, and I get that. Because you know, I guess some people feel like he doesn't have like his own identity anymore since he looks a lot more similar to Tom Holland, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, you get used to it. Like, I really don't care that much about it. Like he looks fine. Like he looks good. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, definitely. When I said in my review, Peter Parker's just another white boy, I definitely mean that, guys. He's just another white boy. There's been
Yeah.
so many people who've drawn Peter Parker. There's been so many iterations of the character. Like, as long as he looks like a white boy, it's fine, guys. Okay? So, overall, very happy with the remaster. Game I did not expect me to be playing this week. Naruto Shinobi Strikers. So, yesterday was Thanksgiving. You know, I was on Discord with the boys, and Louis, who I gave the PS5 to, straight up sold it to him for what I paid for. He was like, "All right, the Steam Winter Sale is going on. Just, tell me,
Autumn sale.
yeah, yeah, just tell me which games you like or whatever." And I was like, "All right." I told him Gears 5, Naruto, or Celeste, and he said, "Fuck Gears 5, you're getting the other two." And I was like, "All right, fine." So I started playing Naruto Shinobi Warriors, and it's pretty much Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 but with Naruto, and it doesn't go through the Naruto story. Instead, you're just doing like these random missions, and I've been having a lot of fun, honestly. And even this was before I even started playing with Louis and even got Kofi and Jeffrey on to play with us. I was having fun before then, and you're literally just playing as like your own ninja character, just walking around doing missions, having fun with your friends. You can do online where you face other people. I did that once and I got my ass kicked, so I'm gonna stick with the what they call as VR missions, which is just like the sort of you versus AI stuff. So yeah, it's like Monster Hunter where you're doing these missions with your friends but as ninja warriors, and it's fun, honestly. Like, it might sound very weavy and very dorky, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, definitely after this podcast, after I finish editing it, I'm probably gonna play more. Anime that I've been watching, Haikyuu, Noblesse, and Jujutsu Kaisen have been the ongoing anime that have been going on for this season. Haikyuu is still Pog. Noblesse, I've been shitting on it for the past couple of episodes, and I just watched the newest episode. Same thing. I still don't know what's going on exactly. That could just be me not like super interested in the show anymore. But then again, not the episode that dropped this week, but the one last week was very much like a slice of life sort of episode, but like it's not a slice of life anime. I'm not entirely sure, because like the main characters are like vampires and like they're here for some reason and like they're in I'm not entirely sure, but all I can say is don't watch Noblesse if you're not like super hooked on it for like the first like, I guess, 3 episodes, which I think is like the range that people normally say if you're gonna watch an anime, is like watch the first 3, see if you like it. If you don't, you could drop it. Personally, I'm gonna stick around for it because personally I just don't like dropping anime. If I'm gonna start something, I'm gonna finish it. So, but Jujutsu Kaisen, it's pretty pog. I think in my previous time that I talked about it, I said that it was like demons and stuff. It's more like spirits and like sort of like supernatural stuff that's going on within the show, and it's still fun. It's like any other shonen. This guy's a high schooler. He's abnormally strong. He's gifted with this ability that I'm not gonna spoil, and yeah, like it's entertaining and fun to watch, and it's definitely my new favorite sort of like new shonen. It's not gonna take over Demon Slayer, I can say that much, but definitely it's within that group of new shonen that I can enjoy. Action shonen, anyways. The Demon Slayer manga, I've read volume 15 and 16, and they were okay. Volume 16 is definitely leading into sort of like the last arc of the Demon Slayer, I guess, manga in general, which is very exciting. So I cannot wait to read 17 and 18, which are the two newest ones. And then the rest are going to be printed in English whenever they decide to do it, because I believe volume 22 just released in Japan, which is the final volume of the entire manga. So yeah, definitely nearing the end, unfortunately, but I heard the ending is pretty bad, so I hope it's not as bad as it is, because some people are like, yo, Demon Slayer's trash because of the ending, and I'm like, well, hopefully no one spoils it for me by then. But all right, I'm gonna try to not simp when I talk about this. Rent a Girlfriend, okay? Look, guys, listen to me. Rent a Girlfriend. It's probably the best anime that has been released this year. And hear me out. It was released last season, and a lot of people were talking about it. They were like, yo, this shit's good. And I was like, fuck it. One day, it was like before work or some shit, or like I had like a day off. I was like, screw it. It's 12 episodes. I'll get started on it. Bro, the first episode, I already knew that I was going to love this show. So if you guys don't know what Rent a Girlfriend is, it's a show about, there's like this service within this world where you could rent girlfriends. All right. Obviously, within the year 2020, that's probably not safe. But within the context of this show, I guess it is safe. So the categories that this sort of falls under, or like the genres, it's a comedy, drama, ecchi, romance. So that pretty much fits the description of the show. It's very funny. I'm not capping when I say this. I was laughing so much when I was watching the show. Every single episode, it had a moment where I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And like, if you're a guy, like, you're definitely going to look at the main character. Fuck, my phone went off. The main character, Kazuya, and be like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, oh my god, I was 20 like 2 years ago, but I wasn't this fucking dumb when it came to like talking to girls and shit. But like the way that this guy does it, I'm just like, what is he doing? And the girls in this show, Chizuru, she's definitely best girl. She's very smart. She is very she knows what she wants, and she knows what like she's doing with like this rent-a-girlfriend job, and it's revealed why she's doing it, and like it's through that relationship with Kazuya that you get to know her more, obviously. And she's a very cute waifu, whatever the fuck that means.
There it is, you got it.
All right. And then obviously there's other girls in the show, there's straight up a girl named Mommy, and I was like, what the fuck is that? But she is this isn't a spoiler, because this is like pretty much revealed within the first episode, and as to why Kazuya rents out Chizuru as his rent-a-girlfriend. So Mommy is Kazuya's ex, and Kazuya rents out Chizuru, and that's how like the show sort of like takes off. And then there's other girls that I'm not gonna reveal because they're kind of spoilers, but not really. But they're in the show, and they play their role in terms of like keeping the first season going. But yeah, this show is fucking funny. It's great. It has a great story. Obviously, you probably should not watch this on like your big ass TV or like volume on blast. You should probably watch this like at your computer, headphones on, making sure that no one else is gonna come by and watch what the fuck's going on with these girls on your goddamn screen. But honestly, guys, Rent a Girlfriend. It's only 12 episodes. So you could probably watch this within a day and then just get it over with. It's really fucking good. If you watch the first episode and you're laughing and you're having a good time, watch the other 11. It's so good. And I wanted to read the manga, but the manga is so far behind in English. Like, if I were to read where the anime left off, I would have to wait till next year in June or whatever for the English. Yeah, it's like kind of crazy because the anime goes through volumes 1 through 6, and then I would have to start on volume 7, and I believe volume 7 comes out summer of next year. So hopefully the anime comes out at that point, but if not, I'm definitely gonna read up on the manga because this show is just so much fun, and I honestly had a really, really good time watching it. So yeah, that was me simping over Rent a Girlfriend because this is a fantastic show. But anyways, Full Metal Alchemist. This one's going to be very brief, just because I've only watched 9 episodes, and Damien started watching it, so I was like, fuck it, why not? Mm-hmm. And it's very good. I'm watching it in dub, just because subbed or dub. Honestly, I don't really care, but if the dub is good, I will watch it in dub. So I did do some research, and supposedly the dub is good. So I was like, okay, fuck it, I'll watch it in dub. And it is good. I really do like the voices and the way the show works. Like you said, the world building, the powers, everything's explained pretty well within the first 9 episodes so far. And I'm liking where the show's going. Honestly, I kind of forget where I am right now, but I'm having a great time with it. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, go on. Yeah.
no, you go on.
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, the beginning it's pretty straightforward, but once you get to a certain point, it explodes, and like I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things going on in this show, and I always appreciate that. It's sort of like Avatar, where it's like, it starts out pretty simple, but then the world like explodes, like to have all these different nations and cultures, and I don't know, I just always really like that. So I think the Fullmetal Alchemist does that really well. So.
Yeah, it really does a good job of like, the first episode is like pretty basic. It's like, all right, stop this bad guy. And then it slowly creeps into like, oh, okay, who is Edward and Al and how did this happen with them, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously not spoiling anything, but to those that still want to watch the show, but they slowly, ease their way into building the world up. So.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I kind of like put it on hold since all these games came out, but I'll probably pick it back up, so.
Yeah. All right, so now let's talk about Miles Morales. So first, let's do a quick, like, non-spoiler recommendation. So, like, my recommendation, not talking about, like, spoilers or anything, I think that this is a fucking fantastic game just because I love Spider-Man and I love Miles Morales and Insomniac Games and what they've done with this character. I did a full video on it, once again. But, yeah, story's great. I really liked how the story played out. I watched what's his name, Captain Midnight's video. He had problems with the story, and I was like, it seems a little nitpicky to me, but I can see his points. And then the gameplay is awesome, fantastic. I love the new powers Miles has. Presentation phenomenal on the PlayStation 5, and just overall, I really like the game. So recommend it to anyone that even has a PS4. Like, I'm pretty sure it runs great on there. I hear the last part of the game does chug a little, but everything else should run solidly. So what's your non-spoiler recommendation for Miles Morales?
Yeah, I also really, really enjoyed it. I think there's some parts of me that like it more than the 2018 game, since it just feels like a natural evolution. Obviously, it's not like a full game, but there's parts of me I'm like, yeah, I think I like this more than 2018. All right, I love 2018, but this is like this is even better. Without saying too much about the story yet, honestly, it kind of reminded me of like an MCU movie, like the way it's structured. So it just reminded me of that, and I liked it a lot. I think it flowed really well, especially for a game that's that's shorter than 2018. I think it did a good job with what time it had. I think it introduced what I had to introduce. Showed character growth, all that. So yeah, I thought the story was really good. I love what it did with Miles. I just love Miles as a character in general. Like, not even in this game. I'm just talking about in general. Like, Miles is a cool character. Combat is fantastic. The Venom powers are amazing. I love them so much. Being able to like yeet people across the street with like a Venom punch feels fantastic. It fixed one of the problems I had with Spider-Man 2018 with stealth, since once you break out of stealth, you're kind of just screwed. Like, okay, I guess I just gotta like fight them now, even if maybe you messed up. When you scan someone, it says, oh, they're safe, but then it goes to danger, and like, ah, shit, right, press the button. But at least with this, like, it kind of forgives those mistakes, since Miles could go camouflage, and I think that's just a really neat like ability to have. And I was able to actually play the game more stealthy because of that. And yeah, because I feel like Miles takes more damage in this game than Peter. I don't know, it could be me exaggerating, or the enemies just like hit pretty hard. But yeah, it's pretty advised to go through, to pick off a lot of people through stealth. So yeah. But yeah, overall the game is fantastic. Ran perfectly. I played it in performance mode because, again, love that 60 FPS. But I did turn it on for fidelity mode, and yeah, it looks beautiful as well. The lighting is amazing. The ray tracing and like all the buildings are amazing. Like, yeah, it's really good. I also highly recommend it. I think it's the game to get with the PS5, honestly. Like, even if you don't like Spider-Man or that sort of gameplay style, I mean, I don't know. I think it's definitely worth. Like, if you're buying a PS5, get Miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so now let's talk about spoilers. Spoiler warning, by the way. We're going to talk about spoilers for Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PlayStation 4 and 5. So if you don't want to hear spoilers about the story, you can skip to our Mandalorian talk or the Game Awards talk. So Spoilers for Miles Morales. All right, story. So what'd you think about the overall story?
So yeah,
I get that.
the overall story really, again, it felt like an MCU movie where, you have like, like a friend, but like they turn out to be a villain,
Mm-hmm.
with Finn, I'm talking about here, obviously.
Yep.
And then, they have this whole thing. Of course, she has to die because, again, like an MCU movie, you can't have like any villain live. And I don't know, just the way it was structured, like really reminded me of an MCU movie. I'm not saying that in a bad way at all. Like, I'm saying that in a pretty positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Since Miles obviously never had a MCU debut, and I don't think he will, maybe, but who knows.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just really like what they did with Miles. Really show him being on his own. Being his, like, this was like his debut at, well, not his debut as Spider-Man, but really his first time being alone without Peter, since he had to like go to with Mary Jane to like Siberia or whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
where he went.
Symparia, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
Symparia, yeah, with Silver Sable. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It was just a great way to like make Miles like on his own while still giving like I don't know. And like, it gave Peter like a role too, being like his mentor. I really like that, since I guess like most of the time when Miles is there, Peter is dead. Like,
Yep.
right? Like the only time that really happened was Spider-Verse, but that wasn't his Peter. So I just really like that dynamic they had where he's like a teacher or a mentor to him, and you sort of get that through all the different like Hollow training stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I also really like Prowler in this game. I didn't know what it would do with Prowler, since he wasn't really in the first game.
Yeah.
But I really like that he did really care for Miles, and he didn't want him to make the same mistakes he did, and he did really care about him. You could tell he was really he really resented what he did by being a thief, and what he did with his family, and him like sort of like cutting himself off with the family. I don't know. I just really like how he was more like really sympathetic to Miles and stuff. So it was just something I didn't really expect too much. I thought you would just kind of beat him and that's it. So I'm glad it seems like he's probably going to be in the second game as well, since they hinted that he's getting a lighter prison sentence for only 2 years, which I'm like, that's a really light prison sentence for someone who's been like doing massive crime sprees forever. But all right. But yeah, I guess like those are like the two main like characters I want to talk about. I guess Genki was really good too. I really love Genki. He was
Yeah.
great.
Definitely, this game's story built up Miles the way I would like him in this sort of universe of Insomniac Spider-Man. Perfect way, just like yoinking Peter out, being like, hey, he's going on a work vacation, so Miles has to figure everything out on his own. And Finn being the Tinkerer was definitely a surprise to me, because when I was playing that bridge scene, my brother was next to me, and I was like, bro, this has to be Yuri, because from the
Yeah, from
the
the first
city that never sleeps DLC. I was like, yo, Yuri went fucking rogue, so this has to be Yuri, right? So then when it was Finn, I turned to my brother. I was like, oh shit, never mind. Like instantly, like when I told him that, I was like, bro, this has to be Yuri. And then it wasn't. I was like, oh shit, okay. So that's pretty much where like I really, really got invested into the story, because before then it was very much of Miles still trying to figure out on his own in terms of like, who am I? Like, am I actually Spider-Man? And he is Spider-Man. He's his own Spider-Man. And I'm glad that they took that angle. And yeah, Finn as like, his longtime childhood friend that we just suddenly get to know, which is fine. We don't know everything about this universe's Miles. So being able to introduce Miles and Finn's relationship through these like many flashback sequences was very cool. And the Prowler, Aaron Davis, I thought that his character was also done pretty well. Yeah, just like him being a genuine sort of like, he cared about Miles just because he didn't want the same thing that happened that he was doing, or even what his father was doing. He was like, you don't have to put your life in danger for the sake of others. But Miles is like, I'm fucking Spider-Man, so like, what else am I supposed to do, The leveling up in skill tree is something that I wanted to tackle, because I didn't touch on that in my review. I kind of forgot about it. But yeah, I mean, it pretty much works the same way as it did in the 2018 game, which, by the way, like, in my opinion, I think that both of these games are somewhat on par yet. I'm not entirely sure if I can say Miles Morales is better than the 2018 game just yet. But I feel like that they're on par and good for different reasons, sort of thing.
All right, that makes sense.
But yeah, the leveling in skill trees, I thought that they were done pretty well. It pretty much works the same way in the 2018 game, like I said. The innate abilities that you get from the training missions, I thought was pretty neat, because that just meant that these sort of abilities you don't get just from like leveling up. You get them from actually doing like this, sort of like mini side quest, which is very cool. And speaking of that, I did 100% this game. So not everything that I did in order to 100% this game was all that fun. Definitely the Prowler sort of like, sounds that you had to like find. I was like, man, I hate these. Like, I'm not having fun doing these, but it is what it is. It builds up, more lore for the Prowler and things like that. But yeah, definitely like overall, I think that I thoroughly enjoyed my experience with this game. And yeah, just like the story and yeah, just yeah.
I mean, I agree with you with the collectible. I think there's an issue both games have, where I feel like they just put collectibles for the sake of having collectibles, just so it fills more time, which is fine. But I feel like a Sony could do this better, where yeah, again, like with the pigeons in the first game, it's like okay, I know they make fun of it in this game, but still, and this game with the Prowler stuff, yeah, like or I guess even the underground caches, they're kind of just there to like just have collectibles, just to fill in some time. Again, not bad, but I feel like they could do things better. I like to see more side quests where I know it's gonna take a lot more time and effort, but a lot more side quest chains that like either deal with like another villain, like maybe have like a minor villain like Shocker, like he's doing something, so you do like a chain of side quests and you actually deal with him, or like I don't know. 'Cause I feel like my brother always talks about this, like he feels like the Arkham games does things like that better. I'm like okay, I mean I never played them, but I'm gonna take his word on that. And yeah, yeah, I feel like both games still have that issue where they just have collectibles for collectibles' sake. And it doesn't bother me that much because I love the combat and swinging around is really fun, so I don't mind. But yeah, I think as Sony, I could take lessons from both of these games and sort of make the side content a little more interesting in the next game.
Yeah, but the side missions
yeah.
on the app are really good.
Yeah, those were good. Yeah. I'm not saying they're all bad, obviously. I still really all enjoyed the side quests in general, like the actual side quests plus the app stuff. It's more just like the collectible stuff is always like just like whatever. You just do it for. You just do it. Do it for gameplay's sake. Well, again, not bad, but yeah. And again, with the leveling up in the skill tree, I feel like in this game, it's sort just because it's a smaller game, you kind of just get everything. As long as you do everything, you're gonna be fine. Like you'll level up to the max level and like get all the skill trees. I do like the training missions since you don't have to waste your skill points on things like double web zip, which feel like mandatory at this point. Like why wouldn't you want double web zip? So it's cool that it just made that like yeah, do like this training thing and you get your double web zip back. So well, I guess like Miles is his first time getting it. So. I also appreciate that the super jump is just a default ability now. When you do like hold R2 and press A to do like a super jump off the ground. I appreciate that because I believe in the 2018 game, that's like not a default ability, right? Like I don't remember that.
I think you have to upgrade to get that.
Yeah. So because I know like I mean I did that all the time in like Spider-Man 2 back in the day. So I'm like why is this not just a default ability? So I appreciate that he's just added that as a just an innate ability Miles has. And yeah, basically I really enjoyed what he did here. I think this was a great introduction of Miles. Again, just for like more people to experience Miles, since Spider-Verse was amazing. I think Spider-Verse has to be like one of my favorite Spider-Man things ever, and this game is also really good. Like I'm happy Miles is getting a lot of recognition, and he's getting a lot of recognition for his own character, not just as like like Peter's sidekick or whatever. So I really appreciate that. Or just like oh he's just Black Spider-Man, obviously there's more to him than that. So I'm happy that Spider-Verse in this game are giving more awareness to the characters. So yeah.
Yeah, and people are, treating him with respect to the original creator's intention of not just creating a Black Spider-Man, but creating this own sort of new version of Spider-Man. But last thing I want to quickly touch on is the ending for the game, because, Finn, dying, I was like, fuck, man, like that goddamn sucks, because, like you can definitely see like she just hates Roxxon and just like wants to burn this company down. But when Miles, obviously Miles fucks up too, because he was like lying to her and shit. And like obviously, all right, you go.
I was gonna say usually I have problems with that, but he obviously was going through a lot. He's still like figuring out all the Spider-Man things, and he was taking like when the Prowler was just like, hey, just lie to her, get in there. He's like, all right. And obviously that messed things up because he doesn't know any better. So yeah. They were both kind of in the wrong, because Finn also just didn't want to listen to him at a certain point either, which is also fine because he lied to him. But they both kind of messed up. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, definitely. Miles is still in high school. He's still figuring out the whole Spider-Man thing. So, the whole like climax or like I guess the finale where like Finn just like fuck it, I'll just sacrifice myself. I was like fuck man, I didn't expect these feels. Like oh my
Right.
god, like that entire like sort of last part of the game and like that last flashback sequence where you go through that museum with her and then meet her brother upstairs in that sort of museum room to go and see like your class's or like your guys' project, I guess, was very cool. But yeah, and then when like I guess the town or city of Harlem, the I guess local people that you've been interacting with through side missions, if you did that, sort of see Miles as their Spider-Man now was very cool because straight up right at the start of the game, it's like, hey, like this one's my OG. And he's like, hey, save some room for that new Spider-Man. I was like, come on, Miles. Like, can you make it any more obvious? But, it is definitely at the end of it, like what Insomniac wanted to do, complete his arc as Spider-Man that started within the 2018 game. So, yeah, I honestly just really, really love the story and like the entire story just like completes Miles' arc, like I said, perfectly. So.
Yeah, and I'm just super excited to see what they do with Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm expecting to play as both of them at that point. Like maybe you
Yep.
can switch between them, or some missions might require like Peter, or some for Miles. I'm just very excited to see what they do with Spider-Man 2. Probably make it big since this game feels it's still like is based off like this 2018 game with a lot of like systems. So it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be interesting to see like what really new stuff they could do with the next game.
Yeah.
And they keep hinting because the post-credit scene in this game was,
Yep. Once
Harry.
again,
Yeah.
take him out. I was like, oh shit, oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, Insomniac, don't make this a fucking live service game. We saw what happened with Avengers. Don't do it.
I
But
highly doubt. I hope they don't. That would be horrible.
yeah, that would be horrible. But I have confidence that Insomniac Games, they have smart people working there, so they're not gonna do that. But the only thing, I guess, like quick little thing that I want from Spider-Man 2, if the game's hella long, fucking make it hella long. Make it so like you have blown up just like skill trees for both Peter and Miles. Have us go back and forth between them, or fuck it. Have like a Peter story. Do whatever you want. If the game's hella long, I'll play all of it. I don't care because at this point I am in love with what Insomniac has done with this character or characters, I should say. So. Spider-Man 2, whatever you guys do, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm also in love with the what Insomniac is doing here with like the story and characters. I'm pretty invested at this point, and yeah, I just want to see where it leads to. I mean, I guess obviously, my prediction for what's gonna happen in Spider-Man 2 is Peter has to die, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like Peter is gonna die in the second game, and then the third game could just be Miles, and it might just wrap it up at that point. But yeah, I definitely don't see Peter live. Like he can't live with Miles. Like I feel like that's like a paradox at this point. Like, I feel like Peter kind of has to die. So I don't know, I'm very excited to see what to do with Spider-Man 2. I think it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, that was definitely my first thought when I saw Miles get bit. I was like, oh shit, Peter's gonna die soon, isn't
Yeah.
he? But whatever they do, it's definitely gonna be very interesting because they've definitely gone a very different direction from other incarnations of Spider-Man, from what I can tell. So.
Yeah, basically it's fantastic, and yeah, I mean if you're watching this, you probably played it already, but play it again. It's great.
Yep, New Game Plus. All right, so now let's talk about The Mandalorian. So The Mandalorian season 2 started a while ago, and we are caught up, I believe, on episode 5. So. We're going to talk about spoilers because it's kind of hard to not talk about this without spoilers. But pretty much my recommendation, if you watch season 1, watch season 2. It's pretty much the same stuff, if not better, I will say. So
yeah, I agree with that. I think season 2, I mean, still like season 1, but I also think it's better. So yeah. If you enjoyed that, you would enjoy Mandalorian season 2. I don't know why you would watch season 1 and not 2. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's probably the best Star Wars things in a really long time. So
yeah, definitely. All right, spoilers. We're gonna talk about spoilers. Yeah. So, the first episode was honestly like a pretty good start. Him going to that town and seeing that, I guess, like other guy wearing the Mandalorian armor and then sort of like cutting a deal. All right, so like before I even get into more detail, like this season already feels more like, oh, like every single week he joins up with a new sort of side character, or doesn't, and he has to solve like this problem that they have, or problem that he might have, whatever situation that he's in, which I'm totally fine with, because when I was binging the first 3 episodes, I definitely felt that. I was like, ooh, like, oh, new thing we're doing here, new thing we're doing there. Obviously, like, there is like this sort of overarching story about like who is this child, and like what are we gonna do with him, sort of thing. But yeah, the sort of like every week a new adventure thing, I'm honestly totally fine with. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's fine too. Again, it reminds me a lot of Samurai Jack, where every time Samurai, Jack would like show up in a new thing, help these people, and then you deal with like Aku stuff. I'm talking about like OG Samurai Jack, not like the new season. And it basically reminds me exactly like that, where Mando will go to a new location. You might get some plot, you may not, depending on what it is. He helps people out, and then he goes off on his way. Does something else. I mean, it makes sense because he's also like a bounty hunter, like still, like it makes sense for him to do these random things to get something in exchange. So I think it fits for the show. And what they do present, like the adventures they do present, are all fun and like fun to watch anyway. Like I don't find them boring or anything. And I think it is done better in season 2, because you usually do get some plot progression at the end or in the beginning anyway. So like I think they're all still worth watching. So yeah, I think it does do it better than season 1, since I think what made people confused is that season 1 kind of started like a normal show, where it was like, like each episode mattered and it would go through like a plot line. Then towards the middle of season 1, it kind of went into this direction where, he helps someone, then he leaves, then he helps someone, then leaves. And then like the last 2 episodes of season 1, it goes back to like what that plot was in the first part of the season, So
Yeah.
I feel like season 2 is kind of all like that, but it like mixed together better. So yeah. Overall, I think the structure is still pretty good. So
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, episode 1 was definitely a really, really good start.
Yeah.
I really like that sort of like new character, and like every single like character that they've introduced for each episode have been, pretty good. Other than I guess like the frog lady, which like doesn't really have a character.
yeah, like a frog lady.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, okay. The comedy in this show is kind of like good, because obviously the show knows that like Baby Yoda is gonna sell fucking toys, so
Yeah.
they're like, we're gonna make Baby Yoda do some really funny shit. So when he was eating the eggs, I was like, oh my god, no way. I was straight up dying. And then when he did it again, I was like, no way. And then he ate the fucking spider, and I was like, oh nope, it's over. It's over.
Dude, you have no idea how much they're selling for Baby Yoda. Oh my god, there is so much merchandise.
Yeah, there is a shit ton of Baby Yoda toys, t-shirts, whatever. And like, Star Wars at the end of the day was made to sell toys. So I'm all for it, as long as The Mandalorian as a show is still doing well. I don't care in terms of like how much merch they sell. So, but yeah, definitely the comedy in this show is like not, like 100%, like laugh track funny, but like it's very subtle, and like it knows what it's doing. So it's smart.
Yeah, like I also think the comedy is pretty good. And just with Baby Yoda in general, I still don't think they overuse them too much. Like I think they use them just enough to be cute and funny, but not enough to be like distract from the plot ever. Like only when he's like actual central to the plots, when you see him a lot, which we're probably gonna see a lot more of him being plot important like later. But I think in these episodes right now, I think they use them like usually he gets like one funny moment per episode, but that's it. Like, it's not enough to distract from the actual plot. So I don't like it when people say, "Oh, I don't like Baby Yoda because he's like whatever." But I'm like, no, I think they use them sparingly, and they use them with like a joke in mind. So yeah, I never mind his screen time too much, and he's really cute. So
yeah, it 100% helps that Baby Yoda is literally the cutest thing that we've seen in Star Wars in a very long time. So yeah, definitely using him just the right amount. And then I forget which episode it was, but the goddamn first thing that they did with Clone Wars, I forget the goddamn character's name.
Oh, the other bounty hunter, right?
Yeah. So
that was episode 3.
Yeah. They were trying
Bo-Katan
to
or something. I forgot.
Yeah, Bo-Katan. Let me just I can Google that real quick. Okay, yeah, Bo-Katan. All right. So when it comes to like them linking this show to Clone Wars stuff, obviously as a Clone Wars watcher, that is very exciting. I honestly forgot who Bo-Katan was, but when I saw her on Twitter, because I was like, oh shit, they're actually doing Clone Wars stuff. And when I was watching episode 3, and then they just name dropped Ahsoka Tano, I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, she's gonna be in the fucking show! Oh my god! So, which we'll get into episode 5 in a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely very exciting stuff. Episode 3, I thought was, he's just stopping by because his ship got fucked, and he just dropped off the frog lady or whatever. So, but yeah, definitely the whole like Clone Wars stuff. I'm not like 100% like in the know with Clone Wars, I guess. Like I know these characters, but I'm not like, oh, like I know exactly who this character's name is and stuff like that. Because I think at the end of episode 5, they name dropped another character, and I was like, that sounded familiar, but I'm not entirely sure who that was. So
Yeah, I know he's just putting all the Clone Wars stuff now and like everything, which is great, honestly, because I still need to watch Clone Wars. It's really long, so I know even with the with like the filler gone, it's still a lot to go through.
yeah.
But I think the more and more references the show makes, I'm like, God, I really need to watch Clone Wars. Um, I don't know, it seems like they're really setting up things with the dark saber and her, since I guess she's like the leader or something with the Mandalorians, from what I read, I guess.
Yeah,
So
she's the leader of Death Watch, which was a sort of like faction in
another
the Clone
clan of
Wars,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
sort of
that
thing.
makes
So,
sense. It's just cool we got more, I guess, Mandalore. No, but it's also cool because we learned that our Mando, is like sort of like in like this crazy like religious group of Mandalorians that they're the
hmm
people that say, oh, this is the way, or don't take off your helmet. Where she had no problem just taking
yeah,
off
she
her
was like,
helmet.
"What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
I just love how offended like Mando looks every time. He's like, what? You could do
yeah,
that?
he's like, "What? You take your helmet off like that?" I was like, "Okay, bro."
So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. Also, in I forgot to talk about this in episode 1, but with Boba Fett, they like kind of tease that he's like still a thing, because he was
Yeah.
just like watching over like his armor being taken by Mando at the end of that. So I don't know what they're gonna do with Boba Fett, but that seems pretty cool. Yeah, season 2. I mean, I'm sorry, episode 2 was not really too much. It was mostly them like fighting a spider.
Yeah, it was like, oh look, you got to like drop off this package to learn about more Mandos, and then ended up not learning about more Mandos because Bo-Katan isn't actually a Mando. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like even then, like the sort of like adventure style of like week to week is still fine. I still had a good time watching episode 2 just because, Baby Yoda eating those fucking eggs
Yeah,
was just
it's so
goddamn
gross, dude.
hilarious. Yeah.
He just ate a spider. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing, bro?
Episode 4, before episode 5, was probably peak Mandalorian season 2, in my opinion. Just because it brought back those characters that we were familiar with, but at the same time
Yeah.
bringing that sort of same action and sort of same style that we know the Mandalorian show for. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it is really cool just to see like what the I guess the First Order now, because obviously they're leading to the sequels with this, since when they're going through that Imperial base, they find like a bunch of like cloning pods. So
hmm
I thought this was power, because I know they do weird shit. I didn't watch, just for the record, I didn't watch Last Jedi or Rise of Sky, or whatever it was called, Rise of Skywalker. But I do know don't they clone Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was clones of Palpatine, but some people saying it's Snoke or whatever. So I'm not too sure. I know it has to do with one of those two.
Yeah.
Um,
They're
but it's
doing
pretty
some
neat.
weird shit.
Yeah, and I honestly think this is super neat to like give more context and like fleshing out the sequel trilogy. Since again, I know people really don't like the sequel trilogy, which is fair. I never even watched the last two movies. I only watched the first one. But it's really cool how they're tying Baby Yoda with like they need his blood to like I guess like advance these clones to be like fully what they could be or whatever. I think that's just neat how they're just fleshing out the sequel lore, since I think obviously the OG trilogy has the most built off of it, but the prequels I feel like were also like a clumsy mess. Obviously, like people that defend the prequel trilogy in earnest are kind of weird because I feel like the lore of the prequel trilogy is super good, and we got that through Clone Wars and a bunch of other stuff. And that's what made the prequels like good, because I feel like the world, like the Clone Wars, like I'm just talking about Clone Wars in general, like it's
hmm
like just was a really cool period in Star Wars, and they really fleshed that out with all this other content. And now that Mandalorian is sort of like dipping into like all of this, like it's dipping into like the original trilogy, the Clone Wars, and now the sequel trilogy, I think that's like really cool, honestly. So yeah,
hmm
pretty neat to see them fleshing out the sequel trilogies.
Yeah, definitely. And episode 5,
Yeah.
this is the first episode that I watched when it actually came out, so I had no idea what was I gonna watch, so I did not get spoiled by Twitter. So I was very glad when I saw those two lightsabers, and I was like, oh shit, it's fucking Ahsoka. Oh my
Yep.
god, bro. I actually like freaked out like a little. Not gonna lie, because I was like, fuck man, Ahsoka live action, because she's been in the Clone Wars TV show for so long. Getting a live action representation of her finally is like very, very cool. But yeah, what'd you think about Ahsoka's reveal?
It was cool to finally see her like live action since she's been a pretty big part of like the Star Wars things for a while now. So
Hmm.
it's cool to see her finally get like mainstream, I guess. Like, oh, like now people can actually know who she is. And it was just cool to see her reference a lot of things about Anakin and like, she never specifically
Oh
says
yeah, she
things
was
like this.
she
Like
knew
don't
someone that
like
used the
turn to
Force,
hate or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
or something out of fear, I believe.
Yeah, fear and
So
hatred or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I guess that's what Gorgu or whatever the
Yeah,
fuck.
Gorgu. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Gorgu,
Baby Yoda's
goddamn,
actual name.
yeah, Baby Yoda's actual name. I was like, Gorgu, what the fuck is that? But that's his name, I guess, because he does respond to it. But yeah, I guess that's like what Gorgu was feeling, and she was like, I'm not training it, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. So, but yeah, overall, like episode 5, like just watching on how this episode plays out, where Mando walks into that sort of town and was like, I'm just passing by, and then she's like, I want you to kill the Jedi, and he was like, oh, you said a Jedi, and then he just uses that information to just get to where Ahsoka is, because he had no idea what the fuck she was. So but yeah, that like small little like fight scene that they had was pretty cool as well. Knowing that whatever metal material that is made of the Mandalorian's armor can't be cut.
Star.
Yeah, can't be cut through lightsaber. So that was pretty dope.
Yeah, it's just cool to see like how the Jedi aren't really like prevalent anymore when like he's just like your little like laser swords and stuff like that. Like he's so skeptical of like how Jedi actually fight.
Yeah,
It's just really neat to see.
he's like, you mean powers, right? Like
Yeah,
the
the
fuck's
powers.
the Force?
Yeah, he doesn't know what the Force is. So, like, I guess the thing where he moves things with his mind, that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's just good to see Baby Yoda actually get like character in this episode where she could feel what he's feeling,
Hmm.
and the story like drumming it up like he's gonna decide what he wants to do, if he wants to like go to the Force and like continue his training, or if he wants to just stay with Mando there. I guess that's what's gonna be for the next episode. But yeah, I know it's just interesting to see more backstory with Baby Yoda, see Ahsoka like kick ass, and just see her in live action. It was just cool to see like Jedi fights, I guess like lightsabers in general,
Hmm.
because it's always cool when it's not filled, when you think of things like Episode 3, right? Like Star Wars Episode 3, you're used to just seeing lightsabers and crazy stuff. But when
Hmm.
when everything like the whole show was built around blasters, it's cool to see like some really overpowered stuff like a lightsaber come in and like Jedi. It's just pretty cool. So yeah, that episode was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. This newest episode, just because of Ahsoka, is like my favorite so
Yeah.
far. Because I'm just like, look, we get to see lightsabers for once within this show, which is why I like Mandalorian so much, is because it is very much far out from like the other Star Wars stuff that we're used to, where it's like a bunch of Force stuff, good versus evil. Mandalorian's more about just like there's this bounty hunter and he has this kid and he's trying to figure out what the purpose of this kid is. So yeah, and seeing Ahsoka just like in live action was very, very cool, and I think was done pretty well. And yeah, didn't like super like play heavily into like referencing stuff from her past, but sort of like hinting at it. So
Yeah, and I think that's good for like people like because there's a lot of people that like never even watched like even heard of the Clone Wars, so it's cool
hmm.
that they start introduce her for like more like normie, not normal people. You know what I mean? Like just people that don't really know her character too good. So I think it was a good introduction to her in general as well.
Yeah, and John Favreau, look, man, you're a goddamn blessing. Thank you for making this show a reality. The episodes that he has directed, I believe it's only been episode 1, I think.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's good. John Favreau, obviously, like, he knows what he wants to do with this show, and we're not going to know everything about Baby Yoda, apparently, until, like, season 4 or some shit.
Oh God, all
Which
right.
is kind of crazy, but, like, I can see that this show going on for that long because just,
Disney needs that money.
yeah, and also with how
Oh,
it's
it does,
structured.
yeah.
Yep, and with how it's structured and the sort of like episode week to week, adventure sort of thing. Yeah, definitely excited to watch more now that we have 5 episodes. There's only 3 more left, so
yeah, that's sad.
yep, next time we talk about it is going to be 2 more, and then last time is going to be 1 more. So unfortunate, but so far so good.
Yeah, I'm loving it. So yeah.
All right, so now let's get into the Game Awards nominees and sort of our thoughts on the Game Awards this year. So first, we'll just go through the nominees, and then we'll conclude with our thoughts on the whole, I guess, event that they are leading up to as of now. So yeah, nominees. So we'll just go on the website and just go through the categories that we think are important, and we could add sort of like our predictions and our insight to. So first up, obviously, Game of the Year. So Game of the Year is Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and The Last of Us 2. So, Damien, if you had to pick one of these games, which game would you give it to?
All right. So for me, there's been a lot of good games this year, honestly, and I really do. I obviously the only game on this list I haven't played was Last of Us Part 2, but I'll say for me, like if I had to pick out of this list, probably Ghost of Tsushima. But for me, it's like a 3-way tie between Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and Final Fantasy, I think. But I think Ghost of Tsushima kind of is like the one I would pick for this.
I definitely hard agree. I have not played every single game on this list, but I have played the two big PlayStation titles, which would be Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us, and Animal Crossing, just a little bit. But if Last of Us 2 wins it, because I know Last of Us 2 already won like a gold stick award, or, joystick award or something stupid. So, well, not something stupid, but I'm just rambling, guys. Don't take offense to that. But Last of Us 2 is probably gonna win it, just because it's The Last of Us and Naughty Dog. But I really want Sucker Punch to win it, just because I think that Sucker Punch, it's unfortunate that it was released the same year as The Last of Us, for it to, be nominated for Game of the Year. Because I feel like that if The Last of Us wasn't here, I feel like that Ghost of Tsushima would be a shoo-in for this. But who knows, Animal Crossing could win it too.
I mean, it could be like, what it reminds me of is like 2018, where I thought for sure, because Red Dead 2, I think, came out 2018, right? And that was like on every list, right? Like same thing with Last of Us Part 2, as you'll see as we go through this list. It's like in everything. And I was so sure Red Dead 2 would win Game of the Year. But God of War ended up winning, which is what I really wanted to win that year. Spider-Man also was really good, but I feel like God of War was like really good.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping the same thing happens this year, where you throw a bone to Ghost of Tsushima, let it win Game of the Year. I honestly think it deserved it. Because the game really caught me off. I knew the game was going to be good, right? But I didn't know it was going to be that good when I started playing it. And I think Sucker Punch really nailed it with like everything in that game. So I'm hope they get the recognition they deserve, since Naughty Dog, they get a ton of recognition. Sucker Punch, they've always like got nods, but they never really got anything like super big. So I hope Ghost of Tsushima wins, honestly. But it was a good year. Hades, extremely good. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake. Doom Eternal was great. Same thing with Animal Crossing. But yeah, if I had to pick, it would probably be Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, and then unofficially for my Game of the Year would definitely be Miles Morales, but we're gonna move on from that. Best game direction, so awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. So pretty much this, almost the same games: Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, new game Half-Life, Alyx, and Last of Us 2. So game direction and creative vision. So sort of like what their, I guess, idea and what their direction they wanted the game to go in.
I always hate this. Like, I'm like, what does that even mean? It's always like the second one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go on.
Okay. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, once again, I thought that it did a really, really good job in terms of like nailing that sort of feudal Japan aesthetic, and the direction, once again, that Sucker Punch wanted to go in was that it wanted to be a open world game where it gave the player as much freedom as possible, and they honestly nailed that to like a T, like almost perfectly. Because once you get past like the first like couple of tutorial missions, you're able to like do whatever you want within Ghost of Tsushima. Obviously, when you do like the side missions and the story missions, like that will ease your way into doing whatever you want. But like they give you so much freedom in this game, it's kind of crazy. Obviously, Last of Us 2, like their idea and their vision for that game wasn't exactly there for the story in particular, in my opinion. But I thought that the gameplay and like what they did for that aspect of the game was really good. But yeah, I would definitely give it to Ghost of Tsushima once again, just because I think that literally everything that they did in terms of like creative wise for that game was like done extremely well.
Yeah, I might say Ghost of Tsushima as well. I wouldn't say Final Fantasy because it was good. I mean, it is good. It's a great game, but towards the end, I feel like the creative vision got a little too creative, and some people didn't really appreciate that. Honestly, I think Hades might also be a good pick since it did so many creative things with telling a story in a roguelike, which isn't common like at all. And the way they did it was super clever, and it really just innovated the whole roguelike genre. Honestly, like if anyone ever wants to do like a story in a roguelike game, they're probably just gonna look at Hades to see for like inspiration. And obviously its design is amazing. You know, everything about Hades is like. You know what? I'll probably give this to Hades. I think it deserves like it had a really good direction. It knew what it was doing. You know, wants to be a story-based roguelite, and it achieved that like super well. So yeah, I'll probably give it to Hades, honestly.
Okay. Best narrative. So pretty much best story for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. So we got 13 Sentinels, Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and Last of Us 2. So obviously, if Last of Us 2 is gonna win this, the angry people on Twitter are gonna lose their shit, 100%. But me personally, you know. Probably gonna say Ghost of Tsushima again, but it might. Okay. Look. Ghost of Tsushima, the story in that game isn't all that like amazing or like sort of like stands. It doesn't really stand out in my eyes. But The Last of Us 2 story stands out, but for wrong reasons. Like
Right.
it stands out because it didn't execute the way I thought that it should have. Like it was extremely ambitious in what it wanted to do with its story. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was really, really sort of like out there in terms of what it wanted to do. And I applaud Naughty Dog for even going for it. So it's sort of a tie between those two games just because one stands out and then the other one doesn't, but it's also sort of like neutral. So, but yeah, if I had to pick one, I guess Ghost of Tsushima again.
So for narrative, again, I think Final Fantasy VII kind of falls apart towards the end. Even though I love the characters, like, I think they did a great job with like really fleshing out all the characters. Like Barrett, I mean, I love Barrett when I played the original game, but he's amazing. Tifa's always amazing. You know, Aaron is also good. I really did like what they did with a lot of characters, and they really did flesh out a lot of parts of Seven that needed fleshing out. But again, I just feel like the end, like towards the end of the game, does kind of it gets weird. Um, at Ghost of Tsushima, I feel like I actually really did ended up liking the story towards the end, or I guess towards the middle of the game where I think it got really good. Um, but I'll probably give this to Hades as well because again, it does such a unique style of narrative where you know again it's a roguelike, you keep dying, and it plays through that like you know like that's it's canon that you keep dying, and I think that's like really neat. And just how the story unfolds after you're doing run after run, you know you get more story bits from all the NPCs and gods you talk to. I just think it's really unique how it did its narrative. So yeah, I'll probably give it to Hades as well.
All right. Next category is Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. So we got, once again, Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, and Last of Us 2. So Best Art and Technical Achievement sort of award, I guess. Me personally, you know, once again, I didn't play all these goddamn games. If I play Hades, honestly, just like watching that game and looking at like how the art style looks, it looks pretty goddamn good. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Ori, always, every single time I see that game in trailers, like the game looks beautiful. So I wouldn't be surprised if that game won either. But for me personally, I'm probably gonna have to go with The Last of Us just because like the technical stuff that they do in this game is kind of crazy. Just by like, I mean, the one thing that I always come back to when it comes to the technical side of Last of Us 2 is the rope mechanic. Like the way the rope moves and stuff, like no cap. Like the way the rope works is kind of crazy. And I'm like, they spent probably hundreds of hours coding this shit and it works great.
Yeah.
So Ghost of Tsushima, you know, the technical aspect isn't all there. I know they patched it and like fixed it, or fixed some of it anyways. But definitely like Last of Us 2's like technical achievement is definitely like there. And like art direction, like in general, I think that Hades and Ori are definitely like sort of like shoo-ins for me.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
I agree with that. Usually when I think about art direction, I think about like art style. So
Mm-hmm.
I would also probably give it to Hades, but probably Ori, honestly, because Ori is like beautiful, man. Like that game
Mm-hmm.
was really like candy to the eye watching that. But there's things to say about Ghost of Tsushima and Hades. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima doesn't look as technically impressive as Last of Us or even Final Fantasy VII in terms of like character models. But just the world of Tsushima looks amazing. Like when you're going through like
Mm-hmm.
all these flower fields, and like all that, like the amount of color in the world is just like really beautiful to look at. But again, when you look at the character models themselves, yeah, they look alright. They're not like Final Fantasy VII remake. I think looks like their models look amazing, dude. Like Cloud like looks way too next gen. Like and like Tifa, so like
Oh
yeah.
my.
but like some of the textures in that game also are like really bad. I think there's like if you look up Final Fantasy VII door, there's like a door where the textures just never load in and it looks really bad. And I feel like a lot of parts of Midgard could look really bad during daylight, since it seems like they spent a lot of the money on character models and not on like the actual environment. So I probably wouldn't give it to that, even though like again I think the character models look fantastic in that game. Again, I think it's probably gonna be Ori for me, but it's a hard choice between Hades or Ori's. But I think Ori, I'll give it to this for this one.
Oh yeah, I just looked up the Final Fantasy door. That looks like shit.
Yeah, I thought apparently it's bugged. Like, it's not even supposed to be like that. The
Yeah,
texture just never loads, but it's really weird.
that's very funny. Best score in music. I mean, I don't really have any opinion on this. Do you? Or
Yeah, probably probably Hades or Final Fantasy VII. I mean, Final
okay.
Fantasy VII, like the remixes they did for the music is so freaking good. Like I love the music in the Final Fantasy VII remake, but Hades also has like fantastic music. I probably give Final Fantasy VII honestly, just because it's more like iconic music that's remixed. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a tough one between Hades or Final Fantasy for me.
All right. Yeah, I don't really have a opinion just because I only played Last of Us 2 on this category. So,
Right.
and soundtrack. I don't remember that shit for that game. Best audio design. Recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3, and Last of Us 2. So audio design in-game. I think Ghost of Tsushima, honestly, like did a really, really good job sort of like capturing, once again, the feudal Japan sort of like feel of that world. Last of Us 2, like it's a goddamn bajillion-dollar company when it comes to like video game developers. Like they have so many people, and obviously like Sucker Punch does too. But I feel like Sucker Punch, like they literally went to not feudal Japan. They literally went to Japan.
They went back in time.
They did not go back in time, but they literally went to Japan to capture like certain sounds to like make sure that they got like the authentic feel of Japan for this game, which is kind of crazy. And I'm not sure if Last of Us 2 did anything crazy like that, but just like that sort of like effort alone, I think should be recognized in some way. So
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna get Ghost of Tsushima too. Always like this category is always weird because I'm
mhm.
like I don't know what they mean. I know what I mean like the crunching and like the like audio. I don't know, like Doom Eternal has some good gun noises. Yeah. Like when I shoot a demon, like it sounds cool. I'll give it a Ghost of Tsushima too, cause yeah, it sounds good, like the wind and all that, the sword slashings and all all that good stuff.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
save you from this one. All right, next one. Best performance awarded for
yeah.
an individual for voice acting, motion, and or performance capture. So we got Ashley Johnson as Ellie, Laura Bailey as Abby. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that name.
Tsuji?
Yep. Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima,
Yeah.
Hades from Hades, and then Najee Jeter as Miles Morales. So honestly, I love Miles Morales, and like this is the one category that I think that they're in. So I'm gonna give it to my boy Najee Jeter because I know for a fact, like in the Game Informer interview, he seemed very passionate about playing as Miles. He's very dedicated to this character. He's played him in obviously the Insomniac games, but also he played him in the new Spider-Man cartoon, which I will not, say anything about that. But Najee Jeter, he loves Miles Morales, and he put 110% into playing as Miles for this game, and it honestly shows in his performance when you play the full game. So, Ellie Ellie and Abby in Last of Us 2, they did good, but those two have been veterans within this sort of like gaming scene, and they've done other roles, especially Laura Bailey. Like, she's done so many roles. But yeah, definitely gonna give it to my boy Najee Jeter.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I really like how he portrayed Miles. I think he was a good fit for him. Because I got used to the Spider-Verse, whoever did him in Spider-Verse, and I thought I was also a really good voice actor for him.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy was also really good as Miles. Like, I was very convinced, that he was Miles, and like he just did a good job. Same thing with what's his face, Yuri, whatever.
Yuri Lowenthal.
Yeah, for Peter Parker. I also thought he did a great job as Peter, and I feel like they did a great job casting him as Miles. And I didn't know he had a history of playing as Miles, so that I guess that makes it even better that he shows that he actually does care about this character, and he's putting 100%. And he's in a good thing now. He's not in like those shitty cartoons. Spectacular was the best one, and then they ruined it. So
I think we could, unless you played these other games
No,
for Impact.
I've only played Tell Me Why.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll skip that. Best ongoing. Do you have any opinion on this or not?
The fact that Final Fantasy 14 isn't on here is tragic, and no, not really.
Yeah, I'm also gonna skip on this one because the fuck is No Man's Sky on here? That's kind of crazy. All right, best indie game. I think that this one is very interesting. Yeah. So we got Carrion, Fall Guys, Hades, Spelunky 2, and Spirit Farer. I hope I said that right. Fairer. My bad. Pronouncing words is not my forte. But anyways. If I had to give it, I only played Fall Guys. And honestly, when I was grinding for that Sonic costume, I was still having a lot of fun. Fall Guys Season 2, they didn't change it a whole lot. They didn't make it a like completely different season or like make it stand out. But what they did change, I liked sort of like the new game modes. And like, it's a goddamn platforming battle royale. Like, how can you not like this? So definitely my personal best indie game for the year is definitely Fall Guys.
Yeah, I really liked Fall Guys as well. I suck at Spelunky too. It's really good, but I'm Spelunky. I'm just bad at. I'm just so terrible at Spelunky. So I'm gonna give it a Hades because Hades is fantastic. And if Hades doesn't win this, I'll kind of be angry. But Fall Guys is also really good. But Hades is probably like there. Yeah, I'll pick Hades.
Mobile game, you got any opinion on it? The fact that Among Us is on here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, anytime Among Us is in any of these, I think it's in another one. That's cheating. That game came out 2 years ago. I know it got popular recently, but I'm like, dude, that game came out 2018.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that the game came out a while ago, and it risen in popularity thanks to streamers, especially with the offline TV and Friends crew. Yeah. But Among Us being here, I would not be surprised if it won best mobile game because a lot of people do play this game on mobile, which is kind of funny. But Genshin Impact, people are still playing that game. I don't know why Legends of Runeterra is on here. No one plays that game, by the way. No one plays the League card game. Unfortunately, when I played it when it was like in beta or whatever, like it was fun, but I was like, I don't want to play a card game,
Right, and that's unfortunate because I know they do a lot of really pro consumer things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Hearthstone players are like trying to move on to that game since they actually treat their players pretty well. So who knows? Maybe because I know that a lot of Hearthstone people are not happy with Hearthstone right now. So
yep, and it's not Blizzard. So
I'll give it to Genshin because I actually played it. I played Among Us, but I don't know. I didn't play Genshin on mobile though. So it was fun.
Yeah, best community support, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness.
Not Destiny 2.
Yeah, probably not Destiny 2.
Probably not Apex either, because I know they were doing some scummy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like community and like sort of like social media presence, Fall Guys is definitely up there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Fortnite's up there just because Fortnite's popular. No Man's Sky? I don't even know anything about No Man's Sky other than that it flopped when it came out like really hard.
Well, it did like a big turnaround because it did.
It did, but like I'm still just like not even on my radar personally.
Right, that makes sense.
But Valorant, they do have a lot of sort of like community back and forth when it comes to the players and the devs, which is very nice. And I think that they do a pretty good job of like making sure that they're adding new stuff into the game, but not making it so broken. I still think that they OD nerf Sage too much, but that's just me. But then again, Sage is kind of like a hero that is kind of difficult to balance around. But Anyways, best community support. If I had to pick between Fall Guys, Fortnite, and Valorant, definitely I'd say Fall Guys, just because their presence on social media, especially Twitter, is kind of crazy. So
Yeah, I'll say Fall Guys too. They've been pretty good at keeping the community updated, saying that they have limits because they're a small team, so don't expect huge like updates every single time since they're like a smaller like team of people. So yeah, I think they've been pretty transparent, and they've been having fun memes and stuff. So yeah, I'll give it to Fall Guys. I think they've been like the best with that.
yeah, we're gonna skip VR. Innovation in accessibility. I think that this one's a very interesting one, but we didn't play any of these games, unfortunately. So like just like accessibility in games, like in general, just like real quick, I think is like very cool that they're like adding it now, just because I know, or like people in like game developers are realizing that like not everyone's the same, not everyone can experience the games the same way. So like adding these like accessibility options to even be there is very cool. So, but yeah, that's just like my quick little thing.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Actually, an interesting thing about Grounded, which is like the Obsidian survival game, since it's like giant spider bosses, it's actually like a mode where you could like there's like an arachnophobia meter. So if you turn it all the way up, it's just like two balls attacking you. It's pretty funny.
Oh.
So that's really neat that they have that option if you're too afraid of spiders. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Man, people who watched, Mandalorian, whichever episode it was,
Oh yeah.
that must have scared the shit out of them. But anyways, best action for the
Monkey
best
Brain
action
games.
game
Yeah.
in its genre. So, we got Doom Eternal again, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Neo 2, and Streets of Rage 4. Best action game. I mean, what do you think?
I'll give it to Doom Eternal. I mean, like that's like you're shooting all the time.
I feel like that's a no-brainer, yeah. Obviously I haven't played the other two games that are new here, Neo 2 or Streets of Rage 4, but when it comes to, straight up raw action, you straight up think of Doom, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Action adventure. All right, for best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. So we got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghost of Tsushima, Miles Morales, Ori and Will of the Wisps, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's on here. That's kind of weird.
And apparently it was too late to be in the last Game Awards, I think, but it could be in this one. It's weird. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then Last of Us 2. So I've played Jedi Fallen Order, not recently. It's been a while. That game's pretty fun, but I wouldn't say it's the best action adventure game. When Miles Morales is on here, it's kind of hard to compete,
Right.
in my opinion.
No, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah.
But I wouldn't even see like Last of Us 2 as like an action adventure game. Like, I mean, I guess it kind of is, but like, I feel like it being in this category with all of these other games that are clearly action adventure, or it's kind of weird, but that's just my little opinion there.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably only between Ghost of Tsushima and Miles for me. Like those two seem like I guess Assassin's Creed also, but I didn't play it. Ghost of Tsushima and Marvel Spider-Man here. I don't know why I said like that. Fucking Miles. I mean,
We're getting tired here.
Ghost of Tsushima and Miles, right? Like they're very like action. That's where I probably classify them as action adventure. Honestly, I think Ghost of Tsushima fits the bill a little more for that sort of like deal. But I'm gonna give it to Miles just because it's not anything else. So, well, besides best performance, but I give it to Miles.
Yeah, same here. Just because I love that game so much.
All right, this is easy enough for me.
Best RPG. I mean, yeah, I don't play RPGs. So what do you gotta say, Damien?
Persona 5. So let me read that. So Final Fantasy is here. Final Fantasy 7 remake. Genshin Impact for some reason. Persona 5 Royal, Wasteland 3, and Yakuza Like a Dragon or Yakuza 7. These are all. That's actually a lot of good RPGs this year, but I'm gonna pick. I'm so mad. Like, why is Genshin Impact? That should have been Xenoblade Definitive Edition. Like, what? Why? Like, it had enough content to like justify it. It has a whole epilogue at the end. I don't understand why Genshin Impact this year, but whatever.
Gotcha
I'm
games.
gonna say, yeah. I'm gonna say Persona 5 Royal. It's not in anything else, and it's probably my game of the year because I love Persona a lot. But Final Fantasy 7 is also a very close second there. So, but yeah, it's gonna be Persona.
We could skip best fighting game. We don't play those.
You don't want to pick One Punch Man?
Oh man, that's it. It's just like Jump Force. Not again. Best family game. For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. So we got Animal Crossing, Crash 4, Fall Guys, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, Minecraft Dungeons, and Paper Mario. So obviously, every single year the family category is for Nintendo.
Category.
Yep.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I would give it to Fall Guys, just because I feel like that Fall Guys is a game that anyone can really pick up and play, and like honestly have a good time with it. It's a very simple game, guys. You jump and try to make it to the end or survive or whatever the objective is. For these other ones, like Crash 4, I feel like that you have to be like a PlayStation kid when you were younger to really like appreciate Crash, or even like have played Crash recently to really appreciate Crash 4. And then Animal Crossing, you kind of like have to like doing like nonsense, for like a couple of hours a day or however long you actually decide to play that game. Because I know that there's still people that still play that game to this day for like hours on end and, still enjoy it. So, and, Mario Kart Live Circuit, I feel like that game, or like even if you want to call it a game, it's sort of like a peripheral sort of thing where like you create your own Mario Kart course in like your house or your room or whatever. I feel like that's fun for like maybe a week at most. But what do you think about the other games in this category?
I think I think Animal Crossing is probably gonna win, but I agree with Fall Guys, but I think it's like the most simple for like a family to enjoy. You jump around, you mess people up, you do like these obstacle courses. I feel like it's a lot like a lot of good like dopamine for a kid to like go through. You know what I mean? Like Animal Crossing is very chill, and I don't know if a kid would actually like that. Again, I'm not. I would probably hate Animal Crossing if I was a kid, honestly, because I never played the original one on GameCube when I was a kid, because when it was rare, and too, like I probably wouldn't even play it because it looks boring as a kid. And Crash, I feel like, dude, that'd make me rage if I was a kid. Like, I don't think that's appropriate for family play at all. I mean, it's a great game, and I hope it wins because it's on nothing else. But yeah, I'm probably gonna say Fall Guys, honestly.
Yeah, definitely Fall Guys. Best sim / strategy, I think we could skip that one as well. Race and sport, yep, nope. No. Best multiplayer. All right, this one's interesting. So Animal Crossing's on here. Among Us is on here. Call of Duty's on here. Fall Guys and Valorant. So for me personally, when it comes to multiplayer games this year, Valorant definitely saved 2020 for me when it came to multiplayer games, because I fell out of League. I felt, my love for League has honestly slowly died off. I still like watching the game. I still like following it, but like, just playing it and sort of going through that experience of...
done it.
Yeah, I've done it so many times. I'm just like over it. But playing Valorant with friends is still like super fun. We played 2 games yesterday, and the first game I popped off. Not to brag, but second game I was inting. But that's because it's Icebox, and Icebox is honestly a really shitty map. But regardless, definitely Valorant is my favorite multiplayer game of this year. I know some people will say Among Us just because they have that group of friends that they were able to play it with, or like they enjoyed watching it, or they just enjoyed playing it with randoms or whatever. So, but yeah.
I just feel like, one, Among Us is weird because it came out 2018 again. But also, I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying I think like Town of Salem and like Mafia are like way better, because I feel like maybe it's because Among Us is really simple, that's why it appeals to everyone. But for me, it just feels like it's lacking in some ways, because I feel like in Town of Salem you have all these different roles and it makes the games really interesting. With Among Us, is always imposter and not like crewmate, like that's it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like after a few games, it's just like, okay, like I kind of got it. Like I feel like it doesn't have the same replayability as those other games. But I guess it's more with the people you play with at that point. But I feel like other games just do it better, honestly. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying there's better social deception games than that one. But I guess Fall Guys. I don't really play too much multiplayer stuff nowadays. I'm just like, I kind of just like play single player stuff.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
Yeah, I kind of just like, I've only like Final Fantasy 14 at this point, but yeah, I guess it's just Fall Guys.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played Warzone, but Warzone was fun when I played it. Content creator of the year. All right, so this one kind of sparked some controversy. So Aaliyah Pierce, Jan Lopez, Nick Merckx, Tim the Tatman, and Valkyrie. So some people were wondering why Scott the Waz not on here, why Spawnwave not on here. All of these like sort of like gaming YouTubers. When they put all of these like sort of streamers on here. And people were like, who's Aaliyah Pierce? And I was like, she's been in like the gaming scene for a while. Maybe not to you like Twitch chatters, but like she's been in the scene for a while. Like she was part of IGN. Now she's writing for Santa Monica, the studio that did God of War.
God of War. Yeah.
So, she's out there, I don't know who Jay Ann Lopez is personally, but, content creator of the year, I definitely feel like that they could have put in a couple of more people in here. But, that's just my opinion on it. What do you think about this category?
I only know Tim the Tap Man.
Yeah, I mean, Valkyrie, like, because of Among Us, she's definitely risen in popularity because of that game, which is kind of crazy because, she's on YouTube. And, like, nowadays, she's not going to stream for a while because she's going on, like, a vacation or something. But when she was streaming, she'd get, like, easy, like, 100K on YouTube, which is, like, crazy. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
what?
like, she gets numbers, which is like insane because when she first moved to YouTube, like I would check out her stream every once in a while because I like watching her on Twitch. When I would check out her stream on YouTube, she was like, yeah, like YouTube, there's like certain things about it that I don't like, and I was like, damn, like she's just straight up talking about this shit on stream, and I'm like, yeah, like at least she's being real with it, like she signed the contract, she took the bag, but now it's working out for her. So but yeah, and the only reason I watch her is because she's part of 100 Thieves, not because she's a girl, guys. All right. But Tim the Tap Man, he's had his moments this year with the whole Fall Guys thing. But
yeah,
if I definitely had to give it to one streamer, it'd definitely be Ray because she grew like a insane amount within just the past 3 months alone, I would say. So
where's Jerma? I only watched like 3 Twitch streamers. So. Yeah.
Best debut game. I think we can skip this one because we didn't play any of these, unfortunately. Yeah. Best esport athlete. I'm also gonna skip this one because I only know the league players, and even then, I barely know them. Esport coach. Skip that. Esports event. That's crazy that this is even on here because of COVID. But
yeah.
Let's just skip that. Esports game. Okay. Now for this one, I could briefly talk about. So we got Call of Duty, CSGO, Fortnite, League of Legends, and Valorant. Whenever I watch competitive Fortnite, I still don't know what the hell is going on because it's mostly just like, all right, guys, just wait for the final circle and then like just try to like cheese them and win or whatever. Yeah. League of Legends, I still enjoy watching League. But honestly, esport game of the year for me is definitely Valorant. Every single time I watch TSM or 100 Thieves play, it's so exciting because anything can happen in a match. Even if it is like a 1v3, 1v4, like anything can happen. So just watching Valorant competitive is always super exciting to watch. It's pretty much like when I would watch CSGO. It's just this time I play Valorant. So I know exactly what's going on. Unlike with CSGO where it's like, oh, okay, this guy's lining up this nade to like hopefully get this guy who's hiding in this corner or whatever. But like with Valorant, like I know the maps, I know the characters, I know everything, or not everything, but I know the gist of the game, just like with League. So esport game of the year is definitely Valorant for me. But do you got to say it in this?
Fall Guys.
True,
no.
Twitch rivals.
Honestly, I don't really watch esports anymore, so I can't really say. I mean, I enjoy watching CS:GO sometimes, but I haven't done that in a really long time either. So, yeah.
Hey, CS:GO and Valorant, all you got to know is that you just got to kill them or plant the bomb and then win. So.
Yeah, I do appreciate. I mean, I guess I could give some insight, like when I was really into Overwatch, because that was probably the last really competitive game I played through to like get like a rank. And I'll say like Overwatch was a mess to watch. There was just team fights with just colors of explosions, and like the maps were like pretty big, and it was just a lot to keep track of. That's why I do appreciate CS:GO and I guess an extent to Valorant, since it's both in the same genre of like tactical shooter, where it's like it's more like the maps are like more laid out. You know what the objective is. I guess Valorant. They have some abilities they could use, but it's nothing like Overwatch where things are just exploding everywhere. So yeah, that visual clarity is probably why like Valorant is more fun to watch than like I don't know, like Fortnite where like buildings are being constructed everywhere. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, definitely. Esports host, we're gonna skip this one too. Esports team, we're gonna skip that one, and that's it. That's actually it. We are done with the Game Awards. I mean, overall this year, I think that for what 2020 has offered us, I think that this list of games that we see for Game of the Year and etc. I think was pretty decent. I don't think any game really got shafted in categories. Maybe Miles Morales, but that might be a little biased. But what'd you guys say?
Xenoblade. That deserves to be there. Xenoblade always gets snuffed, man. Like that's the only thing I'm upset about. But honestly, I did think they got like all the major 2020 games. And again, I think it was a very good year for video games. I really enjoyed. I basically played almost every major release except Last of Us Part 2, I think, just because I didn't play Last of Us Part 1. But yeah, I'll say it was a great year for games. I definitely think this list is really solid. And if you have an issue with Last of Us Part Two is gonna win just because of other things that are not the game, then you're dumb. I mean, I also maybe probably don't think it deserves Game of the Year just based on like everything I hear, but I also can't really say anything because I never played it. So
Yep. I mean, whatever happens because you can sign in to vote yourself, and I believe that's how they tally up the votes this year. So it is sort of community driven. So if you want something to win, create a Game Awards account and vote. So actually vote, guys. Go vote.
yeah,
your
go vote.
your shitty opinions matter, I swear. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to add to the show, good sir?
No, I think that's everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening. It's this episode of the Travis and Damian Podcast, episode 50. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.